across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Afternoon to you. Thank you, Ian Collins, the housewife's choice, who apparently is off to my house to play Lego. Never mind. We're on. Drive Time is here, live and exclusive across the United Kingdom. It's here until 7 o'clock, you lucky, lucky people. And before we get into it, straight away with the legend that is Mike Graham, right, and massive announcements and all sorts of stuff. Pin back your logos if you want to be part of this vain attempt at a programme. There's three ways as ever. Our Jude is here. 0344 499 1000, the only number you need. Make a note of it, put it somewhere. You can use it on WhatsApp, apparently. Quite why I'm pointing at the camera, I've no idea, but Ryan likes a voice note. Lanky Ryan, who won't allow any bad words on this show, the twit. 0344 499 1000. You can also send your text 87222. Start your message with the word Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, the man never stops working. We've just done Plank. Talk breakfast presenter and legend Michael Graham. Good morning.
Hello, how are you? How the devil are you?
We were on this morning. We've just been on, and now we're on again.
Well, I mean, there's no stopping us really, because I'm looking at a countdown clock here. It says 1 day, 17 hours, 56 minutes, and 32 seconds until tickets for our live show go on sale.
Put it up. Have you got it ready? This, ladies and gentlemen, was announced this morning. We're very delighted to tell you that Mike Graham and Jeremy Kyle's World of Common Sense is happening. First night only, first of many, trust me.
There it is.
It is at the Shepherd's Bush Empire on Saturday, November the 15th. Just what can they expect?
Well, I mean, who knows, right? Because a bit like the shows that we do, we're going to have a bit of a row round of how useless the government is.
Yep.
Of course, they might not be as useless by then, but I very much doubt.
Well, they might not be in power by then.
They might have lost the plot entirely by then. Maybe Keir Starmer will have resigned.
Yes.
Hope not, because we need him as a sort of fall guy for the shows.
But we've got a better fall guy, Angela.
Angela Rayner. We've got Rachel Thieves, of course, Richard III. You know, we've got the fake solicitor. You know, we've got the fraudulent former Secretary of State for Transport.
Yes.
Going to be removed. We've got the Minister for what was it, corruption, who's now had to leave her job because she's been investigated for corruption.
Oh, and the homeless minister who's had to resign.
And the homeless minister who's been kicking people out of houses in order to put the price up and rent them to other people. And then there were three. What's the name? Three Pads Rayner, named by Michael yesterday as the Minister for Housing herself. Yes, and exactly no other bugger.
It'll be an amazingly fun evening, about an hour and a half, seated. Tickets, right, this is really important because we'd love to see you there. For people who are part of an O2 club today, but basically 10 a.m, Friday morning, get your tickets. It's via Ticketmaster. All the details are on that screen. You can catch out the details on his social media, and mine. We'll be talking about it. It's part of Talk as well, so it should be great. Looking forward to it.
It should be great fun.
I haven't been on stage for ages.
No, I know. It's going to be great. Live audience. Before a live audience is fantastic. I mean, you know what a live audience is like.
Yeah.
I mean, you did that for a while.
Did that for a while. Looking forward to it. And have you noticed already the scurrilous attempts by our cheapskate colleagues to keep sidling up? Ryan went, as your producer, I'm thinking
free tickets.
A free ticket. I went, absolutely not. He went, well, Peter Cardwell has offered me a subsidised copy of his own book at his launch.
Subsidised?
I don't care.
Right.
You know, pay for your ticket, right?
Prop the door open with it.
Yeah, do whatever you want with it.
Who's going to read that?
We'll have some special guests, people that might surprise you.
Yes.
Good people as well.
We're not revealing that yet.
And there is a vicious rumour that for one night only, in a light-hearted way, that Donald Trump might actually be there and might have to face the lie detector.
The lie detector.
There's an awful lot going on.
There could be some DNA involved as well, at some point.
Possibly something to do with us too. There'll be DNA everywhere. But listen...
also, Shepherd's Bush Empire, famous theatre in West London.
Yes.
Not only famous because we're playing it, but also famous because Terry Wogan used to record his own show there, the Terry Wogan Show, which is quite extraordinary.
Sorry. Jeez, Jez, you look 90 years old. For that poster. Tanya says, good morning. Good afternoon, Jed. I bought my ticket for the show at 10 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
Part of the
well,
U2.
she must be one of the O2 members.
Well, that's right. So we sold one. Hurrah! We sold one.
Listen, they're going like hotcakes, actually.
And for all the people, by the way, seriously, who've been in touch saying we can't get to London, Trust me, we'll be coming around the UK. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So. We'd love to see you there Saturday, November the 15th. If you do buy a ticket, my kids will get Christmas presents. If they don't, your conscience will forever be on you. But tickets on sale. We also should announce that on Thursday night you are off to America. God bless you. You never are going on holiday, but you've got a few days with the family.
I've got a few days with the family. All the kids are reuniting once again.
That can't happen in my house.
No, obviously not. My daughter is coming in from Dubai via Miami, where she's been spending some time with her mother. So that should be interesting. And my son coming from Los Angeles. My other son, Christopher, is already out there. He's been out there for a month working. Actually, I shouldn't say that because he's not supposed to be. He was firing a gun. He was firing a gun the other day, which was pretty unbelievable. And also, of course, I'm taking my other son, the 21-year-old, I'm taking him with me. So we'll be all reuniting my sister's house, which has an American flag flying outside it in Connecticut.
Might have to have it taken down. For all the people, by the way, who are wondering, yes, I am going to be doing breakfast for 4 days. Sorry about that, but we'll do it exactly like Mike does it with less finesse. But join us, please, Saturday, November the 15th via Ticketmaster. Tickets go on sale for Mike and Jez's World of Common Sense on Friday at 10 a.m. I just want to say this very quickly before we get into it. There has been breaking news of a shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis. It's a major city in the US state of Minnesota. People injured but no deaths. Will certainly keep you up to date. It's a horrible statistic. It seems to happen all the time. Both sources saying the shooting started an hour ago. The shooter is a man dressed in all black and carrying a rifle, but no fatalities. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it better, but somehow we will update you throughout the afternoon. Yesterday, MG, was, for me, with Farage, and despite what I'm doing at their conference in terms of doing the television, I want to hold, reform to task, as you do over the next 4 years, if they're going to become the next government. What was really interesting was I saw a Prime Minister in waiting. I saw somebody prepared to take on the mainstream media and the left, and actually I heard somebody who had listened to what the people of this country are damn well worried about.
Yeah, because he's in touch with the people of the country, which you learn more and more about many of the people in the Westminster bubble who are just not. They sit in little rooms all by themselves. They don't really travel much outside of their own kind of little world, and they don't really talk to people, you know, and they're kind of really detached from society, and they don't understand, they never have understood the feelings of people who are standing outside migrant hotels, the mothers, their daughters, their sons, you know, fathers who are caring about the community that they live in and don't want it to be turned into a third world sort of trash dump.
We just did a story that on Plank of the Week, out on Friday, of course, as ever, that would, if you just took a couple of seconds, whatever you're doing, to just listen to this, that there is a migrant in a hotel, I think it is in Epping, who has complained that he's suffering from PTSD and is unable to leave his 4-star migrant hotel because he's concerned about women walking around with placards saying we're defending our children. And it's traumatised him so much that he can't go home.
They've been frightened to go out, he says. You know, and he comes from some war-torn country in Africa where supposedly, he's running away from things which are really, really terrible, torture, imprisonment, and he's frightened of a few women walking around with placards.
It's really interesting, though. Whatever you think of Farage and what he said yesterday, I'd love to hear from you. As ever, 0344 499 1000. But it's patently working, because today we find that Labour's popularity has reached its lowest level in 6 years, prompting ministers to deny the party was running scared. Latest figures from a YouGov poll for The Times, our sister newspaper, showed just 20% of people, 20% only, would vote for Sir Keir Starmer. Whilst Reform has the lead in England and Wales, Labour's figures marked the worst results since 2019. Reform led the weekly voting intention, with 28% of respondents saying that they intended to vote for the party. They led across every region apart from London, where Labour topped the poll. Am I allowed to say why Labour topped the poll in London?
Go on.
Because there's not many Londoners in London, if we're absolutely honest.
Well, and also it's sort of the People's Republic of London now, you know, because let's not forget, when Jeremy Corbyn did have a terrible time at the general election in 2019, the only seat Labour won was Putney.
But let's make the point. Jeremy Corbyn got more votes, by the way, than Keir Starmer.
He did.
We'll talk about him in a sec. But actually, when you look at that poll, Mikey, and then you see, Ryan rang me up this morning, and I was astounded by this. Senior Labour figures said that Britain should leave the ECHR. Ex-Home Secretary Jack Straw coming out today. Sir David Blunkett, legend, to be fair.
Both former Home Secretaries.
Both saying we should be out of the ECHR. does this mean that the centre of the Labour Party is realising that they've lost the argument already?
Well, it means that the whole position on migrants, if you remember, only about 5 years ago, if the Tories suggested for a second even deporting people, it was like, oh, that's so cruel. How can you be thinking that? Now it's only the kind of crazy lefties who are saying things like that. You know, you can't send people back to Afghanistan. You know, other countries are doing it. Germany's already done it. Denmark's already done it. The EU have already earmarked a bunch of Afghans to be sent back. And let's face it, we've got more Afghans here than we need, let's face it, because we got loads and loads of them in by stealth. We flew them in under cover of darkness.
23,900, but some of them brought up to 25 family members.
Exactly. So there's over 150-odd thousand of them here, right? And we don't even know if some of those people are in fact members of the Taliban anyway.
It's really interesting, actually, because when we did this yesterday, and Jack Straw and David Blunkett are big names. Love your thoughts on that. You know, is Labour beginning to shatter its own feelings? 0344 499 1000. We talked about Farage. We'd taken both sides of the argument, and lo and behold, the Taliban said, oh, we're happy to work with Farage. I mean, you know, they're obviously jumping in. Rwanda today saying we would be happy to work with Farage. Now, I understand the cynics, and I've listened to all the people say, oh, he's not going to be able to make it work, and you know, what did John McDonnell say? A welcome to reform in Great Britain where kids and children are going to die.
Yes, he's basically saying you're going to, you know, just absolutely be cruel
But as you
to
said
children.
to me earlier, not an absolute acknowledgement of young English girls who are being attacked.
No,
and it's happening, right, by the way?
It is.
It's happening.
It's happening every day. You know, we find out about some of the cases because some of the cases actually get solved by the police and they find the people responsible and they charge them. And in some cases they get put in prison. But I can guarantee you there are probably dozens and dozens of incidents that don't get ever investigated properly. And they never find anybody for them.
Completely, utterly agree. I've always been straight with you, ladies and gentlemen. They've just changed this. A US Justice Department official says that sadly 2 people have been killed in the shooting at the Catholic school in Minneapolis. The shooter has also been killed. 20 people injured. A US Justice Department talking about the latest horrific guns crime disaster. Catholic school in Minneapolis. We'll update you throughout the afternoon and, of course, on Talk News at the top of the hour. Going back to what we're talking about, let's have a look at what Nick Thomas Simmons, another Labour... He used to be on my show the whole time. They won't talk to us now, Labour. I don't know why that is. He's the Paymaster General. What?
It's probably because of me. They don't like me very much.
I don't care if your politics is different. You should be able to have a debate.
You should.
You can't just not talk
also,
to
we
the
pay their
side.
salary. We pay their salary. They have a duty to come and speak to our viewers and listeners.
Completely. The Paymaster General today saying that Nigel Farage is the issue. Have a listen, have a watch.
I wouldn't describe him as having outlined plans. I mean, Reform promised 4 months ago a comprehensive, detailed plan. I think we can safely say we are still waiting for it. We've heard about detention from Nigel Farage. He won't tell you where. He won't tell you about his plans for women and children who come here. But in addition to that, I heard Nigel Farage yesterday saying that he is going to negotiate with hostile regimes. He can't even negotiate the politics of a parliamentary party that could fit in the back of a taxi.
To me, right, and I like Nick Thomas Simmons, that is panic.
Yeah, it is.
A political party that, he's quite right, there's only 4 of them, but look at the noise and look at the impetus and look at what they achieved.
It's a bit rich, is it not, coming from the Labour government to accuse another party of not doing what they said they would do 4 months ago.
Slightly.
I mean, this lot have done nothing about the migrant
And the Tories
situation.
before them.
And he keeps, the Starmer keeps putting out these tweets every sort of 5 minutes saying, if you come to this country, we will detain you if you've come illegally and we will return you. Well, he hasn't returned anyone. There's papers today saying that now there's a problem with the French deal because the French government is about to collapse. You know, so his mate Emmanuel Macron, who he's been hugging, you know, sacre bleu. You know, they're not going to be able to, you know, stop them coming. Right? So that's all over and done with. The ones who have been detained, they claim there's about 100 of them. You know, 2,000, 3,000 have come since they announced there's one in, one out. They say they've got 100 people to get rid of, but of course they haven't done it yet.
But the other thing
because
is,
they can't.
But the other thing is, that's really interesting is that, and I said it yesterday, I don't know what you think, it's so reactive, Starmer's politics. What Nigel Farage did yesterday, and it doesn't have to be Nigel Farage, is be proactive. To have the balls to put on your neck on the line and say, this is what I'm going to do. Of course you're all going to come at me. You're going to come at me about cost and you're going to say it's not achievable. But for me as a voter, I want somebody to say to me, this is what I'm going to do. Not, I can't do it, or I'm going to throw out platitudes to make you think I know what I'm doing. The Labour Party, 100 being returned, is a direct response to this. It's not happened before that.
No.
Immigration will be, without any shadow of a doubt, and I said it 2 years ago, everybody laughed at me, not you, will be the #1 thing at the next election.
Of course it
will absolutely govern people's minds in the next 4 years because the British people are at the end of their tether.
They are, because the governments that have run this country for the best part of the last probably 15 years have been completely hopeless at one, defending our own borders, two, allowing far too many people in legally, never mind illegally, and allowing the boat people to come. Since 2018, 6 years we've had of this, and now about 180,000 people. That's a big city. They're all here. And where are they all living? Many of them, most of them, are not in hotels anymore. They're all in houses up and down the country.
Listen, it's an issue. We'd love to know what you think of it. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. When you look at this government and you think, right, let's try and be constructive for a minute, OK? They followed 14 years of, letdowns in the end, that the British people just stopped listening to the Tories. So much is wrong with this government. There doesn't seem to be a plan. They don't seem to have an idea of where they're going. Unemployment, highest it's ever been since COVID. Energy prices went up again today. And the shocking news, front of the Mail today...
We're still waiting for the 300 quid off, by the way, which they promised us before the election.
Oh, no, we haven't got that. No, it's gone on.
That's not coming.
They got it wrong. They meant on, not off. They got the two letters wrong. But, of course, the big issue is, and we were talking about this earlier, Rachel Reeves. Economist's not doing very well. There are beliefs that, like in 76 with Dennis Healy, he of the caterpillar eyebrows, she's going to have to go cap in hand to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, go, I'm sorry, we're skint, we're broke.
And we can't,
she has messed up the economy.
It'll be worse than that. She won't be able to afford to pay the debt, and that will mean that the interest will go up, so the debt will get bigger, and then she won't be able to pay that either. And it's just a vicious circle.
Which is typical Labour, isn't it? Typical.
Totally. And they always run out of money.
We saw this little man, Torsten Bell. He looks about 11. He's this sort of... He works in the Cabinet Office, and he's now been sort of seconded to her because he apparently is some sort of bleeding genius. This is a man who thinks that everybody who earns anything should pay more tax. We should clobber Middle England. He's the one that wrote the stone for... He
did. You know, the guy is being sort of touted as the next big thing, like he's some kind of genius. He's not a genius.
Torsten Bell.
Bell. He's got a brother who also works in the government.
What's he called?
Some ridiculous name like Olaf.
Bellend.
Something like that, He's got a double-barrelled first name. Olaf, I think,
And Torsten. Good old English names, aren't they? Torsten and Olaf.
Sounds a bit Scandinavian to me.
It is.
You know, and you know what Scandinavians do?
What should we call him? We'll call him Olaf and Torsten.
But you know what Scandinavia's famous for, right? High taxes and beating each other with twigs. That's all I know. Twigs, yeah.
What do they do there?
Well, they go in the sauna naked and they come out in the snow and they beat each other with twigs.
Jodie, have you ever got into a sauna naked and beat somebody over the bottom with a twig? All the time. She's a dirty man. Torsten Bell, and he's one of those politicians who literally is, if you've been a success in a business or privately, we're going to clobber you with tax.
Yeah, exactly.
So this actually goes back to exactly what the Labour Party has always been about, right?
Exactly right. I'm going to find the name of his brother now because I have to find it.
Come on, Ryan, you should be on this.
Yeah. Sorry, it's not coming out.
Don't worry. Still to come, by the way. Loads of stuff this out, including Sir Yousef, head of Doge, former chairman of Reform UK, after the legend.
Here we go.
Oh, go on.
It's Henriksen, Olaf Henriksen Bell, and it's better than that. They're identical twins. There's two of them. It's like the evil pair of girls in The Shining, you know, and they're now running the government.
Olaf Henriksen Bell and Torsten Henriksen Bell.
Here's Johnny.
Here's Johnny.
He puts his head round the room, and it's the Bell brothers. Hey? Not to be confused with the Balls brothers.
Oh, my God, there's the picture of them.
Yeah.
They do look slightly Scandinavian. The one on the right, can you put it up on the screen? No, can we not do that? The one on the right looks mad. And he does look about 12.
He's a career civil servant. He was made the new head of the number 10 policy unit on Monday.
Was he?
Yeah.
On Monday?
Actually, no, sorry, that was back in January. So
January.
He's at the heart of the civil service inside of Downing Street.
The truth of the matter is...
his other brother, Bell, is now going to be sort of running the Treasury.
The truth of the matter is that however you dress it up, and I've said this a long time, I remember 1979, the Labour Party only has one thing, which is to tax anybody who's successful and try and give as much away, and we will end up skint and cap in hand to the IMF.
They're now coming after your house. They're now coming after your second home,
Yep.
which is not obviously doesn't apply to.
What about three homes, Rainer?
If you've got a second home, if you've got a buy-to-let property, you're going to get hammered.
Yep.
If you've got a pension, you're going to get hammered.
So what's the point of having anything?
Well, I mean, I was saying this just the
Ken
other
Dodd
day.
got it right,
You
didn't
might
he?
as well just rent everything, because then they can't take anything away from you.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think. Now, let's have a bit of fun before you
Go
go,
on.
because you've worked a long day. 4:20. Get your calls in 0344 499 1000. What should Corbyn's new party be called? A naming row overshadowed the launch of Jezza's new political party more than a month after the former Labour leader Nzara Sultana co-founded the new faction via the website yourparty.co.uk. The project remains officially nameless after a survey with the public was split, as others were. So we thought we'd have a bit of fun today. There is a prize. The prize is a ticket with 10% off to come to our gig on Saturday the 15th of November at Shepherd's.
Is it?
I might give a ticket to
Okay.
people who win this.
All right. Okay.
I might.
Yeah, but you have to give them two, though. You can't give
Why?
them one, because they want to bring someone, won't they?
Well, they'll have to buy one for their partner. They're a single people. Look at Ryan, he'd be on his own. Jodie wouldn't.
He's got a wife.
Yeah, but she never goes out with him.
That's true.
Do you know why? She's
Yeah.
embarrassed. She leaves him at home with the cat. Anyway, what would you, my friends, on text 87222, start your message with the word talk. What do we think we should call Corbyn's new party? Some suggestions: the leftover of Labour,
Yeah.
left behind party, fruit and nuts, Sultana and the fruitcakes. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's good.
Socialist Union Metropolitan Party, SUMP, or Jezbollah.
Jezbollah
is my favourite.
That is definitely the
we'd love
all-time favourite.
would anybody. I think.
I thought you were going to say that the winner will get a free motorcycle ride to East Berlin with Jeremy Corbyn. Because remember, that's where he took Diane Abbott.
That's a great
When they went on
idea.
holiday together.
We'll
Can you
give
imagine?
you a motorbike ride to East Berlin with Diane Abbott.
Yeah, there you go.
Would you like to go and ride?
Well, she's reading the compass.
You'll end up in Australia. Name of the party, Steve. Jezza and the Have-Beens. I think that's
all
quite
right.
true.
That's all right.
Steve's in Cambridge. So what are your thoughts? There is a ticket to our gig on Saturday, November the 15th, or a ride to the ex-East Berlin Wall with Diane Abbott on a motorbike. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. I know we need to break Ryan, but do you have this in your ear? Or
Not all the time. Christian's a little more sort of free, shall we say, about that, but he does occasionally have to do it. 'Cause
Ryan,
otherwise I don't stop.
Chill. It'll be all right. We'll go to break.
It's only 23 minutes
I
past.
know. I think he suffers. I think what it is I think he's got PTSD.
Yeah.
He walked past a migrant hotel earlier and somebody shouted out Torsten Bell at him and he hasn't recovered. I'm going to tell you something very, very true this morning that happened when I was doing the live link to your breakfast show. Ryan's absolutely going to die when I tell everybody this. So I have to. Alice is 22. She set up the camera. I don't know how to do anything. Anyway, she's in the background, and she's scrolling through my emails and WhatsApps to get your number. And she sees a picture of Ryan because we've just spoken. Look, his head's in his hands, and she went, "Isn't that Rylan off this morning?" So, ladies and gentlemen, having been chatted up by a bloke on Saturday in the pub, he now looks like Rylan from this morning. When you send a voice note today to Ryan, say, "Hi, Rylan, you're gorgeous."
Yeah.
We're back in 3. I'm off for a week. Cheers.
Nigel Farage has done this whole summer, but particularly in yesterday's press conference, is tap into some real public anger and a genuine kind of thirst for change from the British public. So they want these votes to stop. They think illegal immigration is far too high. And really, they're happy to see radical solutions put forward in order to solve that. Now, the question over Nigel Farage's and reforms policy will be really with the detail.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
About 4:27, we're live across the UK. This is JK on Drive, on Talk, of course, the home of common sense and free speech. Before I continue, Zia Yousef, head of Doge, even at Reform UK, ex-party chairman, will be on this show. Caught in a meeting right now. We'll have him on between now and, well, 5:30. We'll let you know. Some calls in a tick. Hello to my wonderful, beautiful children. Oliver and Iris are watching the television right now. Rissy Roo! Ollie Bolly! It's abuse, I know, but they're at their grandparents' house. Granddad's thumping the chair. He's right when he says the world's gone to crap. Nanny's trying to get off the chair because her legs aren't big enough. 03 I won't mention the wife because she's just stunning. She's probably outside the back with Ian Collins doing some Lego. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Jez, you and Mike, your show on the November the 15th. I'm going to buy a ticket, but I was wondering whether you would be doing a World of Common Sense on ice at Christmas. I can specifically tell you, the person that sent that, there's about as much chance of me wearing spandex as there is of Jodie marrying Ryan. Afternoon, Jezza, says Phil, there won't be any migrants in hotels to deport when Nigel is Prime Minister because the last thing Labour will do before they get kicked out is grant them all the right to stay. You're right, Mike is a legend, but you ain't too bad. Love the show, Phil in Great Yarmouth, thank you. Mark from Summer is there. I don't know what happened there. That's where my parents lived, dead now. Mark from Summer said, a great speech from Nigel yesterday. The thing that didn't surprise me, was the usual press trying to trip him up on the spot with all questions. He dealt with them professionally and made them look silly. From my point of view, Mark in Somerset, when he did that, when he took questions unfiltered, no script, no auto-cue, that is exactly what is needed. If a politician in this country isn't able, cerebrally, to stand in front of the Associated Press or whatever you want to call them and answer questions from the heart and make a mistake or not know the answer occasionally, then that's not right. I'm sick of these appearing to be perfect MPs who know very little and refuse to give anything away. I liked the fact that Nigel Farage yesterday admitted there have been disagreements in the party about this. I like the fact that he likes a pint and a fag. At the end of the day, Nigel Farage is what he says he is, and a lot of people are attracted, some are not. Crystal says, have a wonderful trip, Mikey. I'll be up early to watch you on Friday morning on breakfast. Crystal, we love you. Caroline, the Labour Party are panicking so much about reform, they just now resort to insulting Farage, his party. It's scaremongering. Caroline, you got 4 years of that. They are terrified. Don's in Chelmsford. I love the fact that Labour and Tories are so terrified. Just by the way, bit of fun, because there's a lot going on in the world, as you know. Suggestions for Jeremy Corbyn and Zoltana's, what's the name? Zara Sultana's new party, still to be unnamed. We suggested the leftovers of Labour, Left Behind Party, Fruit and Nut, Jezbollah, Sultana and the Fruitcakes. Hello to Stefan, Corbyn's party, You Pay, We Party, I like. Martin Waddington, Corbyn's party, Magic Grandad's Judas Junta. Martin's in Whitley Bay. 8722, start your message with the word talk. Let's go to the phone lines while we wait for Zia. Let's go to London. Ricky, you're on Talk Drive. A very good afternoon.
Afternoon, Jezza. You all right?
Yeah, are you a golf fan?
No, not golf. No.
Only to tell you that Keegan Bradley will not be playing in the Ryder Cup, but you don't give a damn. Crack on, me old son. What you got?
600,000. Reform, we're going to deport. Tell you now, 600,000 won't even touch the sides. You could deport 600,000 tomorrow and you wouldn't even notice the difference. If you want to worry about, if you want something to worry about, I'll tell you what you should be worried about. 6 million Muslims in this country, and numbers are rising, and the Islamification of the UK. That's what we need to be worrying about.
I think that's wrong. I'm going to take you on for a reason. I don't have any problem. Farage said this yesterday. One of the reasons that he and Lowe fell out was that Rupert Lowe was talking about the deportation of people who have lived there all their lives. That's not what this is about. This is about a country that has always done what's right, but now we can't because we're skint and our own people are being affected by illegal migrants being brought to this country, OK, who are dodging the system, gaming the system, and the British people, the indigenous population, and that includes British Muslims and loads of other people who've been here all their lives and worked, are missing out. That is what Farage is talking about. Thank you, Ricky in London, 4:31. Let's go to Bournemouth. Karen, you're on Talk Drive. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Jez?
Very good. Andrew in Murfield in West Yorkshire says that Corbyn's party should be called the Fruit and Nut Party. I thought I'd done that. Yes, but that's not new, is it? What do you reckon it should be called? Any ideas, Karen in Bournemouth?
Yeah, the pork scratchers.
Brilliant. OK, just carry on being Karen. Don't be a comedian. What do you want to say on Drive?
Well, I watched the yesterday Farage's interviews and everything.
Yeah.
And I like how he answers questions, and I like how he stays really laid back when they're being idiots, and he just doesn't bother about what they're saying, in the sense that, you know, he'll just give them the answer like, well, it's so obvious, why haven't you thought of it yourself, kind of thing.
It's very interesting for me because it's almost common sense politics. I mean, this station Talk, the Sun newspaper, everybody associated with this place has talked about common sense being the most important thing for so bleeding long. Because, look, it to me, Karen, and I'll repeat, Ricky was talking about something I don't agree with. My point in all of this, right? And I will say again and again and again, I know people who have come to this country, our makeup artists came from Poland, built an amazing business, work hard, employ people, pay taxes. The guy that picks me up at night came from Bangladesh 40 years ago, works hard, respects this company, pays his taxes. These two are probably more patriotic than me. We are not talking about people who've been in this country and worked and done their bit. We are talking about people who are coming here, A, illegally, B, are gaming the system, and C, are unfortunately making it then that the British people who have lived here all their lives, including people who from other countries who have been here all their lives, are missing out. That is fundamentally what is wrong. That is what has to change, isn't it?
Government that are smuggling the people in. The biggest people smuggling gang in the whole world is our government. They're bringing him in from Afghanistan, saying, oh, well, it's because they helped us. Well, yeah, I agree, some did help us. But there's an awful lot that they brought over that, you know, blackmailed their way in.
But that, Karen, that's again my issue. How are we so pathetic in 2025 that we as an island that fought 2 world wars for our independence can't protect our own borders? How are we so pathetic that we allow young men to come into this country with absolutely no identification when they're blatantly not 11, when they say things like, oh, it's my sexuality or my ridges, I can't go home. Where is your wife and children? France isn't war-torn. You're taking the mickey, and the worst thing is, in my humble opinion, this country is allowing it to happen. But what I will not do on this show, right, is allow somebody to come and say, oh, we should get rid of everybody, because that's rubbish. We are talking about illegal migrants gaming this country. We are not talking about people who have come to this country and have provided and played a part. My big thing, Karen, is this. If you want to come to the United Kingdom, why the hell do so many of them nowadays that are illegal come over here and try and destroy everything, the very fabric of what apparently they want to be part of? It's a joke. It's 25 to 5 on Talk Drive.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. What is it, 23 minutes to 5? We're live across the United Kingdom. More in the news, that breaking story, the Minneapolis shooting. Sadly, 2 people have died. It's a primary school shooting in Minneapolis in Minnesota. State Governor Tim Walz has confirmed 20 injured, 2 dead. Yet another appalling example of gun crime in the United States. All the news channels reporting on that. We'll update you from 5, only here on Talk Drive. We asked you for your suggestions for the names of Jeremy Corbyn's new party. This was announced a month ago with Zara Sultana. We've had nothing. We suggested the Leftovers, the Left Behind Party, Fruit and Nut, Jez Ballar and the Sultana and the Fruitcakes. Hello to Bob. Name for Corbyn's party, Wafer Thin. Nice. Karen from Newcastle, the Labour Reject Party. Andrew Johnson, not Boris, Bucket List Party or Last Chance Saloon Party. My favourite is Mike so far. The Burke and Pillock Party. There is a prize. It could be a ticket to Mike and my brand new gig on the 15th of November at the Shepherd's Bush Empire. You'll see that online. Or it could indeed be a trip on a motorbike with Diane Abbott to the East Berlin Wall, as was. What is it, 22 minutes to 4. Let's cross to the main man, we should say. Ryan Saby, Deputy Political Editor of The Sun. Good to have you on again, my friend. We talked yesterday about Nigel Farage and how he's sort of been brave and really put the ball into the court of Labour and the Tories, and we've seen some comeback today. Nick Simmons-Thomas, or Thomas Simmons, whatever his name is, Paymaster General, sort of attacking, this isn't going to be achievable. People overnight have said this isn't going to be achievable in terms of finances, but I woke up this morning feeling like I did when I went to bed. Whether you agree with Farage or not, he's read the room, hasn't he? He's read the room, Ryan. That's the most important thing. People are walking around going, at least somebody's bleeding listening to us and isn't unafraid to say it.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the point, where you've got this Labour government who are being very meek and mild-mannered about attacking possibly one of the greatest issues, the biggest issues that are affecting us today, and then you compare that with the sort of grab it by the collar attitude of Reform and Nigel Farage. It literally is chalk and cheese, and that's exactly what the public want to see, and that's exactly what they expect of their politicians. They expect that leadership to come through, and at the moment, who's leading on that policy? There's only one person who's trying to come up with some answers, and that's Nigel Farage.
And I don't think it even is actually, I don't know if this is true, but I don't think he even probably thinks he's got all the answers. But I think what he's done is he's put the ball very firmly in the court of the Tories and the Labour Party, both of whom have had opportunities to do something. And naturally with politics, you know this, you study it all the time. If you're talking about something and it's different, that will garner interest. And what he's done is that. And we look at today, I mean, you will know this, the YouGov poll in the Times, I mean, Labour falling further behind. There are governments that are unpopular, but this is almost unprecedented. I mean, I spoke to somebody yesterday, Ryan, that said that maybe you, I'm getting old, that if you mention Keir Starmer, those 2 words in a focus group, that people just switch off. It really is that bad.
Yeah, that's the trouble. And I think one of the problems for Keir may be that he hasn't had this massive hinterland of political life. He's come into it very, very late to actually think like a politician. He is by instinct, by trade, and I think that's probably where his problems lie. Where
he doesn't have a gut instinct, does he? You're right. He doesn't feel it. It's all. If you say that, you'll get that reaction. If you do that, I never get the feeling that he's able to speak from the heart, which is why I think a lot of people contacting this show were impressed yesterday with Farage that he took those questions. To me, that's exactly what you should do. Trump does it the whole time, man.
Yeah, no, exactly. And if you've got nothing to hide, you'll go out and front up. And I think today and yesterday, I think Nigel Farage has taken 45 questions from the media, which just shows that he's open and he's ready. And as he said yesterday and today at various points, look, I may not have the answers to everything, but I'm going to give this a go. And I think that's the language that people like to hear. And I think the interesting thing is, as more people listen to his policies, it throws up more questions from the likes of us and the public, and he will have to hone in, and he does become exposed, but it probably sharpens them up, and it sharpens up that reform operation to actually possibly getting these plans into action at some point.
I thought it was interesting today as well. I mean, there's undoubtedly a civil war brewing inside Labour. When Jack Straw, a legendary figure in the, on the centre of the Labour Party, really, ex-Home Secretary Sir David Blunkett, likewise, both coming out, both saying, Ryan, you know, Keir Starmer needs to leave the ECHR. We are now part of something that is actively working against what's in the best interest of the British people. Starmer's in a terrible position of his own making because he can't turn for fear of upsetting anybody on either side of him, can he? That's his problem.
Yeah, and this is getting closer to the doorsteps and the doorstep of Downing Street. His Labour backbenchers, David Blunkett, Jack Straw. It probably won't be too long until someone in the cabinet, now maybe speaking ahead of myself here, someone in the cabinet either turns to him privately or says publicly in a very sort of coded way that this is something that this government needs to do. Now, Downing Street, absolutely adamant. I sat in Downing Street yesterday and his official spokesman was saying there is no way we're going to take the European Convention of Human Rights and leave it. We don't want to be in the same bracket as Belarus and Russia.
That's all they say, and yet you know as well as I do, that is just such BS, because there are plenty of countries in Europe that absolutely ignore the ECHR and go ahead with doing what's right in the best vested interests of their people. But what the left always throw out is, oh, Belarus and Russia. That's trite, man, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the interesting point in the coming months. And I think one thing that, and there is, Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, possibly opening the door to some kind of, I use the word decoupling from the European Convention of Human Rights. Big review into Article 8, which is one of the sort of key sort of measures in the European Convention. That actually, will it mean that they can ignore that the Strasbourg judges and the Strasbourg rules in some instances? I just wonder whether they're looking for something to actually to move and.
But it's always catch up. But Ryan, you know this better than anybody. You know, it's always catch up with. What I think grabbed the initiative yesterday was that people went, right, but this is what he thinks. He's actually prepared to stand and say it. Proactive politics, as I said it yesterday, not reactive politics. Badenoch said, oh, we're still working out. Well, for God's sake, woman, it's been 12 months. Starmer, the same. Oh, what if I say that? I just felt like he spoke from the heart. He might not be right, but I tell you what, I think the overall feeling for many people would be, at least he's addressing something that matters to so many people, pal, right?
Yeah, so Keir Starmer and Kevin Badenoch are both playing catch-up, not only with the public, but yeah, I think that's one thing that they are doing. They're playing this catch-up game with Nigel Farage, and he is on the front foot. He set out his policies, and you've got these party conferences coming up where they like to set out their big policies. You just wonder how many of those policies that Sir Keir or Kemi try and use to look like they're on the front foot in about 6 weeks or 2 months' time. So,
and he's even got, and I know I'm part of hosting it, right? But he's even managed to have his conference weeks ahead of them. So anything he says, you're absolutely right. From a political point of view, they will be paying catch up. Ryan, really good to have you on, my friend. Thank you as ever to you and your colleagues at The Sun. Just gone 4:45. Next on the show, your calls 0344 499 1000. Also Nigel Evans, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, live and exclusive on Talk Drive. We're coming back in 3.
Nigel Farage has done this whole summer, but particularly in yesterday's press conference, is tap into some real public anger and a genuine kind of thirst for change from the British public. So they want these votes to stop. They think illegal immigration is far too high. And really, they're happy to see radical solutions put forward in order to solve that. Now, the question over Nigel Farage's and reforms policy will be really with the detail.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
So much to talk about. Obviously, immigration and what you should call Jeremy Corbyn's new party. We suggested the leftovers, the Left Behind Party, the Fruit and Nut Party, Jezbollah and Sultana and the Fruitcakes. There's a prize for the best suggestion. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Mick says, the People's Popular Front of Islington. Great. Paula says, how about the Buttoned Up Left or the Bespoke Bloc or the Drape and Dissent Party? What? Who's this? Afternoon, Jess. Promise you guys will carry on. Mike makes my day and you top it off. Come on, common sense and all that. Ells Bells in Shropshire. Buy a ticket. Don't forget that live show, November the 15th, Shepherd's Bush Empire. Go online. We hope to see you there. This is dreadful. I'm trying. Ian on the Wirral. Corbyn's new party. What about the Compost Corner Party? Is that a polite way of saying there? Yeah, probably. Simon and Eltham, of course. His new party could be called the Not for UK Party. My favourite also, I'm afraid this is now in number one, the Looney Tunes Party. That's good. Michael says, how about the Gary Baldy Party, old stiff pastry with raisins? Or as my nan used to call them, dead fly biscuits. Nice. Fion, I hope I got that right. Is it Fion for Fion? Nick Thomas Simmons should be utterly ashamed of himself. He embarrasses the Welsh Labour and his father was a steelworker, disgusting human being. Awful. Oh, Jodie in Weymouth, new Corbyn party, Britain last. Yes. Or Paul. Oh, this is now number one, the Allotment Party. 87222, start your message with the word talk and call 0344 499 1000. We say a very good afternoon to Nigel Evans, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons on a world tour. Where are you now, Nige?
No, I'm back in the United Kingdom. I'm in Bromley.
And you're very excited to be there because Bromley, of course, full of migrant hotels and everything's been going on. Very quickly, yesterday, I know you were Deputy Speaker, Conservative MP for 30 years. You've talked very openly about how Nigel Farage has sort of grabbed the rhetoric, the narrative. Jack Straw today, David Blunkett saying we should leave the ECHR. What did you make of Nigel Farage's performance yesterday, Nigel?
Oh, superb. Absolutely. He is hitting it absolutely where it should be. Any common sense politician knows that what's happening to the United Kingdom, and has been happening for many years, is totally unsustainable, and it's getting worse. You even read about current Labour MPs thinking we've got to do something. And at least, irrespective of those people who say, yeah, but it doesn't really add up and you can't get rid of 600,000 people and there's going to be problems. I mean, people were saying this about Donald Trump, and yet Donald Trump hit the ground running as soon as he became president of the United States and has stopped illegal immigration coming into America because he's done a deal with 10 other countries whereby those who are then caught are sent out of the United States to other countries. It's killed the model, and that's what we've got to do. We've got to kill the model. And the problem is, Jeremy, that when Keir talks about getting to the people smugglers, the reality is they've been in a year, and I think there's been one people smuggler taken to court, just one. At the same time, well over 50,000 illegal immigrants have entered the United Kingdom by the small boats. The tipping point has been reached. People have had enough.
And it's really interesting, can I say, for people who are just tuning in, Nigel's a regular to this show. Nigel was very vocal about how his own government had failed. I want to see your reaction. I'm putting you on the spot for a reason. Your leader, Kemi Badenoch, This is what she said about Nigel Farage's immigration policy. Just have a listen. I'd love your reaction.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. The fact is, Nigel Farage is copying our homework. We put out a deportation bill in May. The stuff that actually works and what he said has come from there. But the truth is, he is not doing the thinking, we are. And just like we've seen with the Labour governments who didn't do their thinking in opposition, there'll be a disaster in government, and in particular, a disaster on the economy.
He says he wants to leave the EHCR. You haven't decided that yet.
Well, you will know that in May, we got an eminent KC to review a lot of the treaties which are impacting us, deporting people who should not be in our country. And I have said that we will announce at our conference exactly what we're going to do and how. Saying you're going to leave the ECHR is not a plan. It's going to have a lot of impact on things like the Good Friday Agreement. It's going to impact on so many other laws. How do we make sure that if we have to do this, we do it in a way that doesn't destabilise our country or our economy? Only the Conservatives are working on that sort of plan.
Nigel, forgive me if I simplify this. In May, an eminent KC. It's September. He has grabbed the narrative. She is still saying, oh, we're looking into it. Whilst I understand that, she's left standing, man. He's in the distance. This, for me, sums up entirely where your party's gone wrong. Do you not agree with that?
Yeah, there's the real problem is whilst Kemi's made great advances, I've got to say, over the last few months, there is still no real announcement. There's no meat on the bone, and that's what people will want. And the real problem is that when you've got people like Jack Straw, who is saying that you've got to do something to the ECHR. He's not saying pull out, but he is going very similar to looking at derogations or suspending bits of it. When you've got David Blunkett, a former Labour Home Secretary, saying something similar, then you know that there's something rotten at the very core of our legal system that is allowing this to happen, that it's giving preference to the illegal immigrants coming in over the rights of British citizens who pay their taxes, who see their tax money being spent on hotels. The next con is going to be, all right, we'll close the hotels, but they go into houses of multiple occupancy in the very heart of people's communities. That is not an answer either. There has to be detention centres where people who come in illegally into the United Kingdom are going to be taken. They are already assumed to be guilty of a crime of entering the United Kingdom illegally. They will not be allowed to claim asylum. They will be sent to a third country, and they will be banned from ever entering the United Kingdom ever again. Have you?
I wish I had more time, and I haven't today, Nigel. But two things, very briefly. Have you been disappointed overall in Kemi Badenoch? Truthfully,
I think she's got a lot more to do, Jeremy. I mean, she picked up a poison chalice. Let's be fair. A chalice that was basically put down, thrown away by our previous Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who failed completely miserably to send anybody to Rwanda. We've got to say sorry. We've got to say we got it wrong. And what Kemi's got to do, and she really has got to do it, and she hasn't got much time, I think actually the party conference is probably a last opportunity to be able to actually put her mark on this policy. And it's to be bold, and it is to talk the language of Nigel Farage, talk the language of common sense, I would say. Yeah. And say this is what we're going to do.
But the problem is, surely, Nigel, like he took the lead yesterday, his conference, right, is a month before the Tory party conference. And what he's done brilliantly politically is steal a march on both Labour and the Tories. And they're playing bleeding catch-up, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think part of the problem is this lawyer that we've got, this KC, looking into what the implications of leaving the ECHR is going to be. You get into the problems of we will leave it if necessary. We may leave it. No, people don't want that anymore. They know it is a problem. They know that it is a block on sending people back. If Jack Straw can see it, if David Blunkett can see it, then why can't we see it? And
look at the poll again today. YouGov in the Times, mate. Tories nowhere, Labour sinking, and Reform have taken the baton up. And it amazes me because Politics, I'm sure, is made to look like it's difficult, but to me it isn't. You talk about the things that people want to talk about. You try and be as authentic and honest as you possibly can. And, you know, the passion that you talk about the things. I hear passion from you. I don't hear from Tories. I don't. We'll get back to you. Too late for the British people. Starmer. In his tent, so many different facets. He spends all his time trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. I mean, the IMF are coming. Rachel from accounts who can't add up. We're going to be skint anyway. And just think, as I've said numerous times, I think the British people have reached a they've reached a ceiling, and they're not far right. They're just hard-working, tax-paying, non-asking people who feel like they just aren't being treated properly, Nigel. And I think your namesake has appealed right now to that.
Yeah, when you see people taking to the streets in the numbers that they are, these aren't racists. These aren't far right-wingers who are taking to the streets. These are normal people who are fed up with seeing what has been happening to their country over many years. Those who are attaching Union Jacks or the flag of St. George to lampposts are making a statement that they've had enough. And the government has really got to listen to that. I mean, the tipping point has absolutely been reached. And people have had enough. It's not only in Britain, it's in other countries too. I know I've seen what's been happening in Denmark, in Sweden, and even in parts of France as well. And people aren't going to have the wool pulled over their eyes. This con about one in, one out for France. You know, we're giving them several hundred millions of pounds. We're going to end up with the same net number of people in the country, plus all the ones that aren't going back. It's
quick question for you before you go. You said that Kerry Bateman has until the party conference to convince the party. If she doesn't, will that make you move nearer to reform?
I think it's going to make... Listen, I'm thinking deeply about politics and policies. There's no God-given right for the Conservative Party ever to exist. On the poll figures you've just shown me now, the Tory party will be down to 20 seats at the next general election.
I've got to go. Nigel Evans, thank you very much indeed. News next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hour Round 2 of Drive for Wednesday. We're live across the UK at the home of free speech and common sense. This is Talk. If you want to be part of the debate, as ever, my friends, 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. We want to get you on. We're talking about Labour's popularity at an all-time low. Nigel Farage grabbed the rhetoric, grabbed the initiative yesterday, talking about the things that seemingly matter to millions of people. He's been, hit by accusations today as he would be, but brave and upstanding and prime ministerial, many of you are saying. 0344 499 1000 on the back of him making what many thought was very brave. The Labour Party and the Tory Party rode back. He has been welcoming the news, hearing the news that Rwanda have said we'll work with Nigel Farage. The Taliban have said they'll work with Nigel Farage. I say it again and again. The British people have reached a point. The ceiling has been reached. They want somebody to speak up for them. Is Nigel Farage the man? I don't know, but he's certainly putting himself in the spotlight. Philip is a new caller from the Wirral. Philip, good afternoon. You're on Talk Drive.
It's not the Wirral, it's Walsall, actually. But anyway, yeah, I totally agree with Nigel Farage, to be honest with you. You what? I say I totally agree with Nigel Farage, to be honest. It does need these kind of things. It needs an honest politician. I mean, we've had nothing but liars for years. People who say one thing, do another. And yes, deportations, they're necessary. And I think we do need a Bill of Rights. I think we need something more akin to the American Constitution that guarantees the basic freedoms, which are now being eroded bit by bit by this government in particular. But the last government wasn't too good on basically our freedoms to say what we want to.
I couldn't agree more. I find that the state of this country right now, in so many ways, whether it's freedom of speech, whether it's the fact that as an island we don't seem to protect our borders, our military is a disgrace. What I thought was really interesting, Harry Cole is now our editor-at-large in the United States of America in DC. And I was talking to him the other day when Trump was inviting all the European leaders. And we were joking about, there were more British flags around the opening of the White House than you can have in Tower Hamlets. And he was saying that for a government that prides itself on, globalist belief, they're so generous, the British, give us the Chagos Islands, care about it, all look good with your mates. He said, in America, we're laughing at you. The Americans are laughing at this country. We've got no military. Freedom of speech has gone. We seem to prefer to treat people who come into this country illegally better than we do treating our own. And I want to make the same analogy, by the way, that I made to my last caller, Philip, because one guy came on and was talking about mass deportation. Yes, you can deport people who are here illegally, but we should never forget that plenty of people have come to this country, embraced this country, paid tax in this country, and been a benefit to this country. I'm talking about the ones that arrive, take advantage, game it, slag it off and want to change it. Those are the people that shouldn't be here, should they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is pretty obvious to most normal people, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, the politicians create this, what would you call it, identity politics. They do it for a reason. It's for their own wicked reasons, really. But most ordinary people in the street are not racists. They don't hate people. I've got plenty of friends from all different cultures. Some friends are Sikhs, everything. This isn't the issue. It's exactly as you said. It is people who just turn up. There are troublemakers, there are people who hear them all the while, they're race baiters. But if you play identity politics, which both of the main parties, this unipartisanship, has been playing now for quite a few years, and it's been rolled out in America, really, hasn't it? I think it's come from America.
Couldn't agree more. Great to have you on, Philip, in Walsall. Jodie got it right. I'm so blind, I thought Walsall said the Wirral. Philip, new caller, thank you. 0344 499 1000. Our next guest, delighted to have him on. Former chairman of Reform and the head of Doge. What a good job that is, Reform UK. Zia Yousef. Zia, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm very well.
Wow. So there you were yesterday. Look at you now. You're looking slightly as if it's been a busy 24 hours, my friend. I get the feeling, and you'll tell me, I hope, the truth, but certainly from my views, and I'm talking personally from my point of view, that yesterday, love him or loathe him with Nigel Farage, I saw a man prepared to put his heart and soul on the line, to have the courage to put himself in the firing line, who answered questions unscripted from press journalists who had one thing that they wanted to achieve, didn't give an inch. And what I saw was a politician who served notice to his people, actually, that he not only listened to them, but he knew absolutely how bloody annoyed they are about what's going on with this country. Is that how you saw it?
That's exactly what I saw. I was obviously up on stage with him, and really for the first time in decades, there's a politician, a political leader with a real vision for this country, with broad shoulders and the courage to actually listen to what people want, and then say that they are willing to take the appropriate action. Some people, basically the entire left-wing media establishment, have described the plan to deport illegal migrants from this country and secure our borders as, quote, draconian. Well, the United Kingdom is being invaded. Our plan is nothing more than a proportionate response to a national emergency. And do you remember during COVID? We heard from we kept hearing from that Tory government, from the political establishment. They kept saying, we'll do whatever it takes. Do you remember that? We'll do whatever it takes. We'll do whatever it takes. When it comes to the invasion of the country and protecting little girls in this country, they shrug their shoulders and say whatever. And what an indictment is to this country's eternal shame that there's a little 14-year-old girl who felt like she had no option other than to literally take up deadly weapons.
You know, Zia,
they've been so betrayed by successive governments. Our plan to deport people here illegally is the only option left in order to restore justice in this country.
One of my absolute bugbears before we get on to deportation is I've worked with enough female commentators over the years, and I've always been incredibly supportive of these people who talk about what's right about protecting women. Quite right. Women shouldn't be catcalled. They shouldn't be stalked. They shouldn't be sexually assaulted. It's fundamentally wrong. But I call out and I never get an answer from those same women when young girls are being sexually assaulted. That story on Dorset Beach where I live, the bloke who stuck his hands down the trousers of a young 17-year-old girl who's got PTSD and will have for the rest of her life. And what did the judge say? Oh, he had a bad upbringing. It was a mere aberration. The judge should be fired. Seriously, it's a disgrace, right? I never hear a thing from those women. It's like the transgender argument. When you talk about, you know, men in a skirt with a penis in a female changing room. I've got a teenage daughter. I want to hear from those women at those moments, and I don't. Let's talk about what Nigel said, because as was going to happen, those on the left have come out and they've said, this isn't possible, this is not what Britain's all about. Today, actually, people are saying that he's rolled back. Yesterday, stood next to you, he said that even women and children would be deported. Today, apparently, at a press conference in Edinburgh, Nigel said that wasn't true. So just reiterate what the policy would be, if you'd be so kind here, for women and children who arrive illegally in the United Kingdom.
Well, what a policy would be is to target the north of 650,000, minimum 650,000 men who are in this country illegally. That is where we would start, partly because it isn't the little girls who are here illegally in this country that young women, for example, are being terrorised by. So that's what we would start by doing. And ultimately, the only way we are going to address this problem is by having an industrial scale enforcement program to deport people. So we've got to start, the point Nigel was making is that we've got to start with the people who are here illegally, who are adult males. And by the way, those are the majority. In many cases, it's the vast majority of those that are here.
It's interesting to me because I've never understood that. You're far more intelligent than me, but when people arrive in my country and they say that I've escaped a war-torn country where, you know, me and my family are being bombed, I don't know if you're married, I'm not trying to pry, but if my wife and children were being bombed, I'd bring them with me. And also the first country I got to where I wasn't having a bomb land on my head, I'd stay there, which is part of the argument, isn't it? Because we're a soft touch. And I felt like yesterday we were seeing a politician, and, you know, I'm sure there will be critics, and that's absolutely acceptable. But I saw a politician who was saying we need to be strong. We need to protect surely the role of a government here is to protect first and foremost its own people, isn't it?
Yeah, well, what a staggering thought. That the Times ran a headline that, you know, in repealing the Human Rights Act and introducing a British Bill of Rights, that British Bill of Rights would only apply to citizens of the United Kingdom and people here legally. And it was branded as, quote, two-tier, on the basis that it would prioritise British people over foreign people. And my response was, yes, absolutely. Absolutely it will. And that is exactly what a government should be doing. And, you know, we can go through some of the ridiculous criticisms that have occurred. So first of all, you had the band of left-wing quote unquote human rights lawyers and Labour MPs and mouthpieces say, what, you're going to talk to the Taliban, you're going to you're going to do a deal with the Taliban, and then a few hours later, Keir Starmer told the press he would be willing to do a deal with Afghanistan too. And by the way, Germany has already begun deporting its illegals to Afghanistan via Qatar, who brokered that deal. So even the Germans have already begun speaking to the Taliban. And isn't it funny? Isn't it funny that I get asked about would you return women to here illegally back to, quote, woman-hating Afghanistan? And I said the vast majority of the Afghans arriving on our beaches uninvited are not women. They are men. They are men. Why is that left-wing media outlet okay, seemingly, by the framing of that question, with British women and British young girls being subjected to undocumented...
They won't answer that, Zia. You know it and I know it. They will not answer that question. If you, I said it to you 5 minutes ago, if you put to them that a bunch of Afghan men were brought into this country, 23,900 under darkness in unmarked planes, but they could, some of them reported to bring up to 20 family members with them. If you talk about
and
how...
Some, by the way, sorry to interrupt, some the British government knew at the time had been kicked out of the Afghan army for sex offences. They knew that, and they smuggled them here anyway and slapped a super injunction.
And I'm not, listen, I'm not sticking up ever for Starmer, but we have to look further back at the Tory government under Sunak and Johnson, and I think it's only fair and right. But there is absolutely no... I mean, it drives me insane how there is no debate or thought about the women and children in this country when these illegal men are dropped. And listen, you're a big noise. I just do this for a living. I tell the same story every day, and I'll continue. We have makeup artists here at Talk who came from Poland 20 years ago and built a business and employed girls and paid tax. I have a guy who picks me up at night who came with his dad from Bangladesh and his brother 40 years ago, and his dad sat him down and said, you respect this country, you pay your taxes, you employ people. These people, Zia Yousef, are more appalled by illegal migration than I am, or as much as I am. That's what's wrong with this country. We've become a soft touch, and yesterday, hopefully, I don't know, we saw somebody, and you talked about broad shoulders. Has Nigel Farage any idea of what's coming in his direction in the next 4 years?
Yeah, we do. We are prepared. They're going to throw everything at us that they can. I mean, there's really no precedent for this historically. No. You know, we've broken the two-party dominance that's been there for 100 years. We are 4 years away from a general election, unless the bond markets see to it otherwise. 4 years ahead of a general election, 7, 8, 9, 10 points clear, depending on the poll, of the government. So we're going to have an apparatus. We are going to have the entire government apparatus come after us. We're going to have the whole Tory establishment come after us. You know, the masters of the dark arts over there, with as they flee that sinking ship, are going to come after us too. But look, we're prepared. We're prepared. We knew what we were getting ourselves into, and Nigel has made crystal clear: we will not flinch. We will not apologise. We will do what is necessary to secure Britain's borders and make this a great country again.
And it must be really interesting for you as well, having put your head on the parapet, and Nigel and Richard and all the people associated with. I mean, we woke up today to the news that pretty main figures within the Labour Party, Jack Straw, ex-Home Secretary, Sir David Blunkett as well, ex-Home Secretary, both saying today to Keir Starmer, you need to decouple, I hate that phrase, basically leave the ECHR. Who'd have thought that? Ex-Home Secretaries, and that to me encapsulates how Nigel's stolen the lead, but also the problems that the other politicians have. Badenoch was saying earlier, they've stolen all our ideas, and we've got a KC in May. It's bloody September, and of course you've pulled off an absolute masterstroke, not just having me host your conference, but you've pulled off a masterstroke because you're a month ahead of the other parties, aren't you? So you'll be able to outline and lay out what you believe in before them, and that is going to garner interest, isn't it?
Yeah, look, we've got a great team, and they have run rings. We have a tiny team by comparison to the Tories and obviously the government. They run rings around them. But ultimately, the reason why we are leading in the polls and we have surged and we are setting the agenda is because we are listening to the British people, A, and then B, being courageous enough to say this is what needs to be done, and then not bowing to a mob that tries to shout us down, who now have fundamentally lost the argument. And we are changing the weather. I'll say this too. Blunkett deported loads of people. Yeah, some people actually forget this. Blunkett, if Blunkett had been Home Secretary, he was much firmer. He deported people very, very quickly. So, look, this country has lost the thread. The political establishment over the last couple of decades has lost the thread as to what a sovereign nation is supposed to be. If you don't have borders, you do not have a country. And, you know, sometimes we're asked about the minutiae of the costs in our plans. How can Britain not afford to do this? How can we afford not to do this?
No, I agree. I mean, what were you told yesterday?
Billion, at least on asylum and illegal migration. That will be hundreds of billions of pounds over the coming decades if these people are allowed to get indefinite leave to remain and then go on to welfare and then on to state pensions.
I could pay for your costs within 5 minutes. I'd just cancel wind farms and frack. I mean, it's beyond me that every part of anything that would make this country financially stable is underneath the ground, for Christ's sake. Earlier, Nick Thomas Simmons, the Paymaster General, had this to say about your boss, Nigel Farage. Have a look at this here.
I wouldn't describe him as having outlined plans. I mean, reform promised 4 months ago a comprehensive, detailed plan. I think we can safely say we are still waiting for it. We've heard about detention from Nigel Farage. He won't tell you where. He won't tell you about his plans for women and children who come here. But in addition to that, I heard Nigel Farage yesterday saying that he is going to negotiate with hostile regimes. He can't even negotiate the politics of a parliamentary party that could fit in the back of a taxi.
It's interesting, that comment. Your response to that, Zia?
Well, number one, isn't it interesting that since in the 24 hours since we announced our plan, both Rwanda and the Taliban have told the press, yeah, we would work with Prime Minister Nigel Farage to do a deal. So I tweeted earlier that the No We Can't Brigade will be absolutely furious about that. And I'll tell you why we're not going to name all of the locations. I will tell you why. Because there's more than enough time for Labour to do what we know that they will do, which is to sell off that land, most likely to some sort of developer who's going to turn it into an abominable solar farm or something like that. Look, there's 100,000 square miles of land mass in this country. We need less than 1/3 of a square mile to detain these illegal migrants. We will get it done.
I always want to ask questions that I know my viewers and listeners will want to ask. One of the big things yesterday, apart from where would the detention centres would be, was about the House of Lords and how this has become a sort of body that seems to go against, almost everything that an elected government. And lots of people were texting Zia and were saying, look, we buy his enthusiasm, but we've heard forever about the blob. We've heard about institutionalised, the mainstream media, the House of Lords. People were saying to me, it's great to say the will of the people, but what makes Reform and Nigel Farage convinced that they can do something that seemingly several last governments haven't? Have they not had the stomach for it? What's your answer to that one?
No, look, we have already begun a massive body of work to ensure that Nigel's first 100 days as Prime Minister are the most transformative of any Prime Minister in this country, because, my Lord, we're going to need it. We are going to need it. So what I will say is the same determinism that has gotten us to where we are as a third party to break the stranglehold of the two old parties, going to be setting the agenda in the way that we are, is going to be applied to a big body of work to ensure that we're not even going to rely. The interesting thing is, under our unwritten constitution, there is a principle which says that if something is in a party's manifesto, the Lords are just supposed to wave it through. We are not relying on them doing that, because the Lords has basically been a patronage programme. It's been a loyalty programme for donors to the Tories and Labour for decades now. So all I can say is this. I will tell people listening and concerned about that, we are aware of it, and we will have a plan to ensure that the Lords will not be able to stand in our way.
It's very interesting, actually, the point you make about the 100 days. People will jump on that and say that's very Trump-esque, but certainly Donald Trump did hit the ground running, and it made me think about Labour. I think most people in the United Kingdom believed or knew for the last 18 months or 2 years that the Tories were toast. Sue Gray was in charge, of course, of Keir Starmer's first 100 days. Ironically, she was gone before the 100 days were up, and actually what's become patently obvious, and you smile and I'd smile as well, is there was very little plan. There was very little, organisation. And I hear Kemi Badenoch earlier saying, oh, we've got this KC. It's good to hear that you're facing now, questions and working out how you're going to deal with this stuff. Because if I personally, I think many viewers would agree, think about another 4 years of this, I mean, you know, for example, 600,000, they'll probably been given, they've probably been given, allowed to stay, won't they, by the time Starmer's finished, and all his mates will be in the Lords. And it is going to be a big deal. So it's going to be good to hear that work is happening now. Because one of the criticisms of reform, and you would accept this, has been that it hasn't been a well-oiled machine. It's on its way to becoming, you're saying, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, we're a startup. We're a startup. Think where this party was just a year ago.
Yeah.
You know, the dust was settling on the general election. 14% of the vote. Now we've routinely, I think, north of 90. We've led the last 90 opinion polls. We are setting the agenda. Keir Starmer doesn't know which way to turn. Look, we are also a huge source of hope for people in this country. We hear this all the time from people in the street when walking around, when knocking on doors. Our inboxes are full of people who say, for example, at the conference yesterday, they tuned in and said they really feel a sense of hope again. So we wear that burden, and we are fully aware, we are acutely aware that we have to get this right. And I want to say, from a policy standpoint, nobody knows better than Nigel that there's one thing is what's the correct prescription for the patient. The other thing is how do you get the patient to take the medicine? How do you take on the blob? How do you get a no doubt insolent and obstructive civil service to do what needs to get done? How do you get the Lords to actually not trample the Constitution and delay the will of the people? So that's why we're going to be, that's why, by the way, we're laying this plan out years before a general election, because we want to make sure we have a mandate for these transformative things. And if we have that mandate, if the British people see fit to give us, to give Nigel that mandate, we will deliver for them.
I mean, that would be an earthquake. I want to congratulate you on one thing. Please pass this on to Nigel. I thought it was astonishing that you could stand on stage for almost 2 hours in front of the biggest Union Jack that I've ever seen, and a council or the police didn't arrive to take it down, my friend. Do you know what I mean?
We had good security. Yeah.
Great to have you on, Zia. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much indeed, Zia Yousef, head, of course, of Doge for Reform, ex-party chairman, explaining everything to do with Nigel Farage's approach yesterday. Love to know what you make of him. Love to know what you make of Farage's plans. 0344 499 1000. Or you can go a bit light-hearted and tell me what you think Jeremy Corbyn's new political party should be called. We left a few suggestions for you. The Leftovers, Jill from Cheshire says. The Left Behind Party. The Fruit and Nut Bar. Jezbollah is the favourite so far, followed by Sultana and the Fruitcakes. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. You would talk drive. We're live across the UK. Back in 3.
What Nigel Farage has done this whole summer, but particularly in yesterday's press conference, is tap into some real public anger and a genuine kind of thirst for change from the British public. So they want these votes to stop. They think illegal immigration is far too high, and really they're happy to see radical solutions put forward in order to solve that. Now, the question over Nigel Farage's and reforms policy will be really with the detail.
The Ukraine war's out of our control. How we deal with it, we
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
About 5:28. Thank you to Andy from Thatcham. Great show, Jez. The reform earthquake is coming. I suspect 500 seats with the Tories and Labour banished into less than 50 between them. We're taking our country back from the North London Liberal elites. Jeremy Corbyn's new party, Jezbollah, I like. Simon from Derbyshire. How about the Bubble and Squeak party? It's what you get left after all the crap. Yeah, all right, fair enough. What is it? 5:28. Now, yeah, one of the big news stories yesterday was Meghan Markle. We say a very good afternoon to the royal editor of The Sun and host of The Sun's show Royal Exclusive, to which he's never invited me. Matt Wilkinson, good afternoon. He said to me, he said, my producer, she does the bookings, and I helped her, and nothing, not even a nada. It doesn't matter.
It was the sound of the passing of a buck, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone else's fault.
I'd love to have you on, Jez. It was the producer's fault, but I've told her, never book you. Welcome to the show. Meghan Markle. Let's just, if we can, I'm sure you've seen it 575 times, let's remind ourselves of what Meghan yesterday, because as you said, you expect bland telly, goes straight in and slags the royals. This, ladies and gentlemen, is about tights, or as she says, pantyhose.
I'm just being myself. So I think probably it was different several years ago, where I couldn't be as vocal and I had to wear nude pantyhose all the time. Let's be honest, that was not very myself. I hadn't seen pantyhose since movies in the 80s when they came in the little egg. That felt a little bit inauthentic, but that's a silly example. But it is an example of when you're able to dress the way you want to dress and you're able to say the things that are true and you're able to show up in a space really organically and authentically. That's being comfortable in your own skin. And that's, of course, had different chapters in my life. But right now, no, I don't feel that I need to prove anything.
Most people know what I think of Meghan Markle. Matt Wilkinson, what do you make of this vacuous, just, I can't have it?
Well, I think that the really interesting thing about that clip is that it's a moment when you see her mask slipping, because for the last 2 or 3 years there has been a very careful PR rebranding of Meghan, where she has not been controversial, she has not been slagging off the royals, she's not been referring back to any 5-year-old complaints about the royals for the last couple of years. Since the Harry and Meghan show, you know, since Oprah, she's been quiet because they want to rebrand her as this lovely, friendly, airy-fairy, just enjoying life in California. And that interview, if you watch it all the way through, the journalist does a great job about making her feel uncomfortable, and her mask slips there. She can't help but go back to old grudges that she's buried away in the back of her mind that just jump out once you ask her the question. And that she said they're silly examples. They are silly examples. It's about, as you say, pantyhose. But this brings up the whole, if you remember, who made who cry over tights. That's what you immediately think. You know, she
it's all
said
about
that
tights, isn't it? Everything's about tights.
I know, but she also said about vocal. She's saying that I couldn't be vocal when I was in the royal family.
It's not your job, love.
And this was a complaint that she had all those years ago, that she said she couldn't speak out and, you know, and
But that
tackle
makes me think she married
issues.
him so she could speak out, see?
But she hasn't. So since she's moved to California, when has she actually said anything or done anything controversial? She's not. She's just doing a cookery show, making little parcels, making cookies and stuff like that. She hasn't become this vocal, world authoritative leader on big issues that she seems to still hark back to, that claims that she wasn't allowed to as a member of the Royals.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Kinsey made this point yesterday. Who did that interview? Bloomfield, right? Bloomfield. Did I say that right, Bloomfield?
Bloomberg.
Bloomfield, that's a shop. Bloomberg. And interestingly, their sort of financials, quite serious journalism. So it begged a question yesterday. Netflix, who are still paying them money, although I don't think it's as much as it was, what do they think about the fact that she went and spilled her guts, having cultivated this very calm persona for 2 years? How do you think they felt about Bloomberg getting that?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I asked someone who's quite close to this, and they said, we're not in the mood right now. OK, so I don't got to the bottom of it, but I imagine, why would you torpedo your own launch? You know, deliberately or accidentally. Why would you put out this interview?
She didn't actually, because Taylor Swift did, which was utterly fantastic, wasn't it? But no, you're right.
Yeah, well, why would you allow that to happen? And even if you allowed that interview to happen, which elements of it were quite interesting, she did look a bit uncomfortable at times because some of the questions she didn't want to answer.
Yeah.
But why would you start talking about the royal family again, raking up things from 5 years ago? She says she's moved on. We all want her to move on. Why torpedo your own launch? And I was kind of disappointed because I watched that show.
Yeah.
I came away thinking, all right, she's moved on. This is a new Meghan, a new brand. We're seeing what's happening with her. Just let her go and do it. She's uncontroversial. Then I'm tearing my hair out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not, because I get to write as a copy about it. But I'm kind of tearing my hair out, thinking, why is she doing this again? Why is she bringing up these old issues?
Because she is a narcissist. She is obsessed. All that crap that Piers Morgan took at ITV, honestly, and I was there, Meghan Markle is a player. I believe, and I'm not sticking up for the Ginger Whinger, she's played him. I remember a very senior person in your newspaper. The second word is whipped. I honestly think that she has an agenda, but you're right. I asked Kinsey as well, I love your take on this, a couple of weeks ago, why would Netflix, when everybody, I mean, the Meghan with love thing, are we going to show a clip? I don't even want to show a clip about lobster. Ooh, let's cut up a lobster. Harry doesn't like lobster. Couldn't give a toss. If I was Netflix and I was losing money, I said to Kinsey, why are you still, do you think they're still doing it? And she said, because they are being clever. When those two split, they'll be in the box seat to get the exclusive from Meghan. Do you think they're on the split?
Nothing tells me that they're on the split, but I know that obviously they have a lot of stress in their marriage because everything that's been going on the last 5 or 6 years. But nothing tells me, or nobody has told me, that they're on the split. I think it's more timely than you know, some kind of divorce interview. Harry, on his long list, is a Diana documentary, so on his potential list of what they can do on Netflix. So if they just keep Meghan close, indulge her career and everything they need, they can get the big fish, which is Harry maybe doing a Diana documentary or doing more documentaries, maybe when his brother becomes king. That's what they want. So yeah, you're right, they're keeping them both on side by indulging Meghan in every whim.
When William does become king, so much has been written and so much has been said about the anger that he has felt and has kept inside. We know how important family is to him, with Kate, after everything she's gone through, and the boys, and the sweet girl as well. Do you think that William will act decisively against his brother and the narcissistic Duchess of... Who doesn't want to be a Duchess, but she does if it sells books and television programmes. That's what I have a problem with. Do you think that William will forever banish him, or do you think there will be reconciliation? There was talk about reconciliation some months ago, wasn't there?
Do you know what? The 5 years that I've been doing this job, solely, anything can happen with the royal family. OK, you can barely predict what's going to happen. I think it would be... I think it would... You're going to disagree with me, but I think it would be over the top, because you never know. You might need Harry in 10 years' time.
For what?
Well, you might need Harry. You talked about him splitting up with Meghan. You know, William's wife hasn't been very well. Things could change, and you might need Harry by his side. To suddenly take away his titles, I think would be a mistake, because you might need him in the family at some stage. I think it would be too brutal.
It's funny, because I know that because I lived there and you know what the old man did, but I know that, you know, every Sunday after school at Eton had finished, he'd go to see Granny and he'd stay there, and I think that William is probably closer to how the Queen saw the monarchy than even his father is. I think there will be a lot more traditionalism, and I think he'll go back. I don't know, maybe you're right, actually, you probably know more than I, but I just, as a royalist, Matt, it sticks in my craw that this couple don't want to be part of something. That's fine, that never worried me. Good luck to you. But then to only use, and you bring that example up here today, Bloomberg, to then only ever get column inches or press coverage by going back to bashing the very thing that sustains their lives, to me is just hypocritical and unfair. Do you know what I mean? I think a majority of Brits don't. I think they both struggle to come back. I mean, he would be all right, but I don't think she can ever come back to this country, do you?
No, every polling suggests that they're the two of the most unpopular royals. They're down the bottom with Prince Andrew. But we do have...
Are they less popular than Prince Andrew?
No, Prince Andrew's at the bottom, then I think it's Meghan, then it's Harry.
Well. There's a house... Do you know this? It's absolutely true. When my parents lived in Somerset, there was a road called Andrew's Close, and the locals wanted it renamed after all that. I mean, he's goodbye.
Well, Andrew, yeah, I mean, Andrew's really struggling. He was kicked out, well, not kicked out, but he was banished from Balmoral a little bit earlier this summer than he normally is. So the family normally go to church together. It's always a big display of family unity at Crathy Kirk on the Sunday that's just gone. And Andrew went there a couple of years ago, and oddly, he was given a lift by William in the car, which was, there was pictures of it, and it caused a bit of a scene. Andrew disappeared at 6 a.m. that morning. Whereas the rest of the family, William, Catherine, the 3 children, King and Queen, all went to church and put on a full.
You might make a point. Also, this is not putting you on that point. It's just me. Do you think the King's ill?
I think the King's ill. We get told that he's living with cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a briefing last October, November time where they said there are some really good advances in medical research, which means that he can carry on having a full life, and he was going to go on tours, proper foreign tours this year. We know that he went to the one in Italy because I joined him there, and we know there's one planned for October. We don't quite know what it is. So what I say is, yes, he has cancer.
Yeah.
He's a man in his 70s, like any man in his 70s, but they are confident they are managing his cancer well, and the King won't stop. The King will just carry on. So yes, he's ill, he's got cancer, but, I think they're managing him quite well at the moment.
I think you're brilliant at your job. I think you only lack me on your show, but thank you very much indeed. The excellent Matt Wilkinson, royal editor for The Sun and host of The Sun's show, Royal Exclusive, here on Talk Drive. 22 minutes to 6, whatever you want to talk about. You know what to do. It's 0344 499 1000. We're back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 20 minutes to 6 o'clock. We're live across the UK. This is JK. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you very much indeed for all your calls. Keep them coming. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Let's go to the phone lines quickly. Joan is in Sunderland. Joan, good evening. How are you?
I'm all right. I just want to talk about the state of the country.
It's not great, is it?
No. I think Starmer is living in the past. He still thinks he's a human rights lawyer. He doesn't realise that he got the position he's always wanted. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, not the world, not EU, not anywhere else. And to be quite honest, I don't think he even considers this country at all. Everybody else is in front of us. I believe personally that he got into the position he's got by deceit, because everything they said in their manifesto, they have done the exact opposite. You only have to look at the announcement today. The mad professor told us we were going to have cheaper energy bills. They're going up in October. We don't know what our rate is going to do when we get the next instalment from her. I'm quite sure she'll be after the gold in our teeth if we've got any. And it's just an absolute disgrace the way these people are governing this country. They're running it into the ground. They prefer everyone else but us. And as I've told you before, I'm 85. I was born June 1940. We had an Anderson shelter in the garden, and every time there was an air raid, I was taken into that shelter and put in a drawer from a chest of drawers. And you sometimes wonder why. Because all of that sacrifice, everyone else is before us in the queue. And I am so mad, but what really annoys me about Starmer, and as I say, I'm 85-year-old, I have never had a situation where freedom of speech in the United Kingdom is under threat. And I am so flaming mad about it that, as well as everybody else who's allowed to come into this country, that man has to go.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And I think it's really interesting to hear how angry people are of all ages and all ilks, because we can talk about immigration, we can talk about how the British public seemingly are in the back of the queue, but there are fundamental things in this country that are being stripped away, whether we're skint, whether we don't have a border, whether our ability to speak out is going, whether we can't fly our flag. There's so many things that are uniting, excuse the pun, the British public against a government that seems to, well, frankly, Joan, to be un-British. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I really appreciate your call, sweetheart. Thank you. Let's head quickly to Manchester. Charlie, you're on Talk Drive. Just a couple of minutes. How are you?
I'm good, Jeremy. How are you?
Not bad, me old son. Thanks for tuning in.
No, thank you. I love the way you're covering this. I mean, my concern is, I mean, yeah, you know, Nigel stood up and he's done a great thing there today, but I can't quite forget that back in March when he was interviewed, he literally sat there and said he's against mass deportation, it's impossible, it could never work. And he also answered the question when somebody said, do you realise or are you concerned that, you know, white UK nationals are potentially going to become a minority in their own country in the next 3 generations? He said, I don't care. Now, I can't forgive or forget that. You know, I'd love to think he is the panacea, but in my mind, he has done exactly what Keir Starmer's done.
No. There's this is my opinion. You have a different one. That's the essence of a democracy. This phrase, mass deportation, centred on a certain politician, Mr. Lowe, and others who think that every single person who comes from a different country should be deported. It would be absolutely fair and proper to say to you, and I said it already on this show, that there are many people who came to this country in the last 40 years who have not only embraced this country, they've enriched this country, they've made businesses, employed people, have paid their taxes and are probably more British than you and I. In terms, what I'm so angry about, and I believe the majority of people are, if you disagree that's fine, is the people who come here because apparently their lives are so appalling, they spend their entire time bashing the United Kingdom, they want to change the United Kingdom, they want to take from the United Kingdom everything they can, We're not allowed to do this, we're not allowed to do that, and the British indigenous population is at the back of the bloody queue. There is a massive difference, and the problem with this word is mass. That's where it is. Nigel Farage at the moment is talking about deporting people who are here illegally. That surely, Charlie, is the major problem, isn't it?
Well, maybe that's what, you know, I mean, it wasn't clear in the interview. But
I think the problem is the word mass, because Rupert Lowe would have every single person who's ever come to this country deported. And I don't care if what I'm about to say is unpopular. Legal migration has benefited this country in many ways, but it is now a standing bloody joke that you can get here on a boat, you can get here illegally, you can stay, you can break the law, you can be given absolutely everything to the detriment of the British people. And I will say this, hand on heart, as I've said before, there are people who have come to this country who are more angry about illegal migrants and how migrants have done this than probably people who have been here all of their lives. I appreciate your call, Charlie. Thank you very much indeed. He's in Manchester, 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. We're coming back in 3.
huge issue. We've got a track record of being able to deliver it, and some people have criticised us saying, oh, you're going to have to do deals with some nasty people around the world. Well, do you know what? Sometimes you do business with people you may not like. If you want peace, if you want a ceasefire in Gaza, you've got to do a deal with Hamas. If you want a ceasefire in Ukraine, you've got to do a deal with Putin. If you want to send people back to Afghanistan, well, you've got to deal with the Taliban.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Interesting break, 10 to 6, welcome back. We're live across the United Kingdom. Push the button, Ames.
Sports news from The Sun.
Mike Anstead, welcome back, head of content of sport at The Sun. Yesterday we sat as, football fans, and we talked about West Ham. Last night, I was on the train, and as I exited the train to walk towards my car in the car park, West Ham were 2-1 up, and it was all going rather well. And suddenly, West Ham were looking at winning their first game of the season. By the time I got into the car, they were losing 3-2. Then there was some sort of altercation between Gerard Bowen and his own fans. Not going well, is it, to be fair, for Graham Potter?
It's an absolute car crash. Look, we're not even out of August yet, and Potter is the hot favourite to be the next Premier League manager out. He is, yeah. That's not a big surprise. That was a bad defeat last night. You can argue it's the Carabao Cup. Who cares? Well, I think fans care because it's a trophy on the line at the end of the season. But the nature of the defeat, the defence is all over the place. You're 2-1 up, away at a team who aren't doing well themselves. 2 goals in the space of a few minutes and out. And like you say, Gerard Bowen, who... I can't remember the last time Gerard Bowen was ever involved in some sort of altercation on the pitch, let alone off it.
Defensively rubbish, man. And I have to say, and I'm not like you, a football expert, Ryan's now looking at me wondering what I'm going to say. You go 2-1 up, and the biggest mistake you can ever make is to sit back. They almost sat on their goal line, West Ham. I was watching the stuff later. Appalling. And listen, I was happy when Potter came. I think you're right. I think if it carries on like this, he's toast, man.
I think so, and I think having 3 centre-backs is a real struggle. I think you get away with it as a big team, but they are just inviting pressure on. I don't think there's any leaders in that defence, even though they've spent a lot of money. He's chasing, he's moving the goalkeepers around.
When Kurt Zuma looks good, you know you're in trouble. I've never rated Kilman. I don't think Taribo's any good. Honestly, I'm with you. I think it's... I genuinely think they're in massive trouble.
And now he's got El Sakiko on Sunday against Nuno at Forest, so 2 managers and
El Sakiko, I like that. See what you did there. Grimsby Man United tonight. Now, obviously, Grimsby are trying to batter Manchester United. We did this yesterday, for goodness sake. What was Gary Neville warning Sesko about? Is it this centre-forward? Did you read that in the newspaper today?
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's this doubts about is he ready and when does he need to get jumped in? I mean, the idea is Sesko starts tonight. We'll find out very soon, but he needs a big performance. I think pressure's on Sesko, really, because he's one of the big money strikers. Gyökeres already off the mark at Arsenal. João Pedro already off the mark at Chelsea. Other strikers doing well, like Ekitike at Liverpool, and obviously you've got Isaac's future up in the air. He could be left alone as a striker, not doing much. It's another question mark for Man United. They need a big win. Look, they're playing a League 2 side.
I mean, the thing about Manchester United is everybody loves to hate Manchester United. Ruben Amorim, it's his worst nightmare tonight. If they win 4-0, everybody will say you have to.
Yeah.
If it's squeaky bum time, and listen, West Ham are rubbish. I think, I don't know, I didn't react initially too well to what Rooney said, but he's right. 30 games, 29 points. Amorim should be under pressure.
Absolutely. Look, he really needs to be 3-0 up after 25 minutes, cruising home. Sesko's already scored a couple. Xerxes comes on, scores a couple. Great performances, but on a bit of wind up there on the North Lincolnshire coast. Let's see how that one goes.
The Mariners, Bruno Guimaraes, who was absolutely immense for Newcastle the other day, down to 10 men against Liverpool, and they nearly pulled it off. Says they're missing Alexander Isak. We were reading that the Saudi Arabian owners went to Isak's home. He hasn't changed his position, still wants to go to Liverpool. Newcastle again bidding more for Jørgen Strand Larsen, of course, the guy who battered West Ham last night. There's a sort of domino effect with the strikers, isn't there? There's Isak, there's Visser, there's Strand Larsen, there's Nicholas Jackson, there's all sorts of people, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle are going hard in for Strand Larsen. Look, they're lining up the £60 million bid. Is that going to be enough to tempt him from Wolves? We don't know yet. But they're making their move, and this is while Isaac's still there at the training ground training on his own. Bruno's come out and said they're really missing him. That's understandable.
That was pretty obvious, wasn't it?
He's one of the best Premier League strikers that there is. So there's going to be a lot of movement over the next couple of days. They're making their move for Larsen, and obviously Visser's going on in the background as well. So.
And I keep saying it every single day, everybody's appalled that Isak's gone on strike, and yet Newcastle are trying to get Visser, who's also gone on strike to a degree at Brentford and refusing to play. But it's all going to fall into place.
Contradiction in the Premier League, you'd never imagine that.
No, Spurs, the team that we all love to love. They're aiming to pick Chelsea to Xavi Simons. Is that how you say it? Yabi? What do you say?
Xavi Simons, yeah. So he's Brilliant. The RB Leipzig wide man. So Chelsea have been looking at him all summer with the presumption he would go there. Spurs, who obviously lost out to Arsenal the other week for Eberechi Eze, looking for front wide players. They're now going to go in for him. So we've got another battle. The two big London teams. Will Spurs come on top? They like to leave it late in the transfer window, as we know, under Daniel Levy.
Daniel Levy, what
expect
a
this one to go all the way to 6:59 p.m. on Monday night. But that's going to be an intriguing transfer battle over the next couple of days.
I think there's going to be quite a lot of business, isn't there, before Monday night? I think there really will be, because does it finish at 7 o'clock? Did you say?
Well, 7 o'clock is the deadline,
and the papers have to be in by midnight. And all that stuff, right?
all the deal sheets will go on and on and on, so it can drag on. But yeah, I think, look, with Isak, Chelsea are making their moves. Liverpool are looking at people, Man United are looking at people, even Arsenal still looking at people. So there's a lot of stuff to be done. And as you know, your beloved West Ham need 11 new players as well. So.
Wow. I should tell you very quickly, Emma Raducanu, straight sets through to the third round of the US Open. I take back everything. She seems to be in great form.
She's in great form, and obviously it's the scene of amazing glory, one of the greatest sporting achievements by any British
and what did
person.
she do wrong after that? Took £10 million worth of sponsorship, but you'd all take that money if you were offered it, wouldn't you?
You wouldn't turn that one down, Jeremy, surely.
No, I don't agree. I think you should do that just because it's the right thing to do. I wish her well, though. Listen, I used to get really frustrated with her. Always injured, but she seems to be getting herself together and showing a bit of form, to be fair.
I think so, yeah. And she's got a smile on her face, which, does that count for much? I don't know.
Well,
but
we know why that is, don't we? That's Carlos Alcaraz, as I call him. US Ryder Cup captain Bradley Keegan. Sorry, what have you written, you He's written US Ryder Cup captain Bradley Keegan. Who wrote that? It's Keegan Bradley. Jeez, honestly. And I've read it like that. Refuses to pick himself for the Ryder Cup. This is the big thing for people who don't know. Not since Arnold Palmer in the late 60s has a man ever been a playing captain for either Europe or the USA. Yep. Keegan Bradley, just a real American. There's going to in New York at Bethpage, it's going to be phenomenal. He has not picked himself. Can you name his 6 picks?
I can, because I've got them written in front of me.
Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa. See if I can get this right. And then Ben Griffin were next in the table. Cameron Young, who won the RBC Heritage. Come on, Jez. Cantlay, the slowest and most boring player in the history of the world. And Sam Burns, who never does his shirt up. That's the 12.
6 out of 6. So what would you have done? Would you have picked yourself?
No. I think the Europeans are right. I don't believe that you can captain and play. The irony about Keegan Bradley was he was not selected 2 years ago when everybody thought he should, and he was devastated, and there was that the Full Swing documentary that showed that. But of course he's the captain. Is he going to get a chance to play again? Is he going to get a chance to be captain? I think he was in no man's land. If he'd played and lost, they'd have a go at him. If he captains now and loses, they'll say you should have played. No man's land. But what's going to be fascinating is the Europeans are not the best team. They never have been. The camaraderie, the team ethic, everything is so much stronger. The Americans are... But this is on home ground. I think only 3 of the last 12 have been won away from home. So not since the miracle of Medina in 2012.
Also, you can imagine the crowd at Bethpage is just going to be raucous. It's
New Yorkers being raucous?
Absolutely.
Do me a favour.
Yeah. So it's going to be fascinating. The Ryder Cup swing around really quickly now. It's a big decision, but I think you're right. He only would have come out of this well if they win it. He picks himself, they lose.
I'll give you an exclusive. I am absolutely certain, having seen the entries for the BMW PGA and the Irish Open, there will be a major surprise when Luke Donald picks his team.
Are you going to reveal that now?
Sergio Garcia will be selected. I absolutely am convinced he'll be selected.
Yeah, well, he's one of the, he's Mr. Ryder Cup record point scorer for us, so he's
part of the Rahm thing as well. That's what I genuinely think. But it'd be really interesting. Ryder Cup in about 3 weeks. West Ham, Graham Potter favourite to be sacked. Who'd have said that about a West Ham manager instead of a Watford manager? You're a legend, Mike. Frankly, better than all of them. Come back on Monday. Oh, are you here tomorrow?
No.
Oh,
I think you got Sean back tomorrow.
I'm working on a Thursday. Thank you, Mike. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. This, my friends, is Talk. The News at 6 is next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Final hour of Drive for, what is it, Wednesday. We are here tomorrow with Drive, and then you lucky, lucky people, Mike's off to America and breakfast starts on Friday at 6 a.m. at your place. Thank you for tuning in. If you do want to be part of the debate between now and 7 o'clock, 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Do please start your message with the word talk. We had a little bit of light-hearted stuff amongst it all, which was to ask what you would call Jeremy Corbyn's new political party. It's sort of... The launch a month ago was overshadowed, frankly, because there was no name. And they did this, he and Zara Sultana, the co-founder, did this, let's ask the people. We came up with a few suggestions for you. Left of Labour, the Leftovers, the Left Behind Party, the Fruit and Nut Party. Our favourite was Jezbollah or Sultana and the Fruitcakes. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Mick in Blackpool says, what about the unelectables? That's very good. Yes, that's quite good. Oh, God. Oh, look. The best name for them... I'm not doing that. That's totally rude. That's totally rude. Name for Corbyn and Sultana's party, unpicked fruit and rotten vegetable. Nice. How about Jedbull gives you left wings? What's from Nick in Winchcombe? You've all gone mad. Loads of you making suggestions, most of them completely and utterly broadcastable. Jeremy Corbyn's new party, that could also, frankly, be a pain in the backside for Keir Starmer. Not that he needs any more pains in the backside. Right, your calls this hour, please. Labour's popularity at an all-time 6-year low. Reform dominating. Today, senior Labour figures from the past. Jack Straw, David Blunkett, ex-Home Secretary, saying maybe Farage has got a point. Maybe we need to leave the ECHR to take back control for people. There are rumours that financially the Labour Party is on its backside, that desperate Richard III, or Rachel Thieves, as I call her, has turned to controversial hard-left tax and spend zealot Torsten Bell to help write the budget, which will, in fact, I suspect, mean that anybody who's made any money and been any success at all is going to be clobbered. It's not going well for the Labour Party by anybody's standards. One man who I'm sure was not impressed by Nigel Farage's performance yesterday, we'll see. The legend, Lord Benedict of Spenceton, 6:05. Good evening, sir.
Hello, Jeremy. How are you doing?
Hello, Jeremy. Welcome to my draw room. You see what he's got? You see what... Now, all of you just... If you are watching on YouTube, he's got that sort of turtleneck on, sort of country jumper that gentlemen get away with. Women wear them when they've got a hickey. What?
Next time I'll come on with a fez or a smoking cap or something like that. I feel I need to sort of add accoutrement every time I come on your show.
You look autumn ready, as Ryan's just pointed out, and it's still autumn sweltering. Ready. It's sweltering here, but you look autumn ready.
Maybe where you are it's sweltering, but out here in the sticks, where it's basically winter time, no wonder you'll come to me, and I won't be in my drawing room at all. I'll have a beach backdrop because I'll have fled the country for tax reasons.
Yes,
that's when you'll know things are really, really going wrong.
Yes, really. Yes, you will. You'll be on some Caribbean island. Welcome. Let's talk. We didn't yesterday. Always great to have you on. For me, I said it already about Farage, she seemed to grab the initiative politically. There are plenty of people, maybe yourself included, who will jump up and down and say it isn't achievable. But just in terms of the very basics, it struck me that there was a politician stood in front of the British people saying he understood their concerns and he was going to do all in his power to not, get some KC to look at it or try and fudge it by saying what he thinks people want to hear, but was speaking from the heart. What was your response to it, Benedict?
It's not that I think it's not achievable. I think that it is achievable with the right amount of motivation. I think that there is going to be a lot of opposition to it from the civil service if Nigel Farage becomes Prime Minister. That's not me sitting here saying Reform themselves won't be able to do it. I think that there will be many elements of the state that will try to prevent them from doing this. I am also very cautious about their announcement that we're going to leave the ECHR as a sort of a standalone policy. It's not the priority. You don't need to leave the ECHR in order to start deporting people in the numbers, and I worry that it'll end up being like Brexit, sort of turned into a bit of a battle.
Hold on a second, let's jump in on you there straight away. Today, we heard massive names from the Labour past. Sir David Blunkett, ex-Home Secretary, who deported people, Jack Straw, Home Secretary, who deported people, saying that Keir Starmer needs to get a grip on that, and decoupling was their phrase. It sounded very sort of Gwyneth Paltrow, didn't it? Decoupling from the ECHR was... should be on the agenda. Now, I've always been told, which you'll be able to help me with, that whenever anybody says we should leave the European Court of Human Rights, people go, oh, the only people left. I mean, Starmer tweeted this last night. That'll make us like Russia and Belarus. But you make a really salient point. There's plenty of European countries still in the ECHR who ignore it and just do exactly what they want with people, right?
Yeah. You don't have to be a member of the ECHR.
Why doesn't he explain that then? Why doesn't Farage say that?
The thing with all of this is, and so when you have Labour politicians, former Labour politicians, saying, well, we should consider renegotiating, you have to remember that those Labour politicians are coming at this from a different angle from Reform politicians. They do not believe, fundamentally, that mass immigration is a problem. And they know that if Labour were to put this on the agenda and if people were to vote for it, Labour could then renegotiate, but come to an agreement that doesn't necessarily massively change anything. Whereas if Reform were to do it, it would massively change things. Yeah, that's a sort of a controlled policy, if you like, from Labour. They can go, well, yeah, we'll rip up our membership of the ECHR, but the deal that we end up agreeing will look remarkably similar. But we'll have already made the promise to people to say that we are going to leave and hope that people take us seriously. But the thing is with all of this, and why it's not necessary to do this, as you just pointed out, plenty of countries just ignore the ECHR.
Yeah.
Parliament is sovereign. Actually, this is the thing that, including our own government, they seem to keep forgetting. Actually, Parliament makes the decisions. You can pass legislation that overrides the ECHR. You don't need to leave it. You can just pass amendments to the Human Rights Act. You can change the Human Rights Act. You can pass your own legislation that bypass that particular convention. And that takes a lot less time, and it means you've got far fewer fraught negotiations with the European Union.
So why doesn't Farage say that then? Is it because, hear me out, so many people associate the ECHR with the problems of migration, so that by saying it, that will be a box-ticking exercise? But I would have thought that Farage would have achieved as much, if not more, by telling the British people that if he has a majority government, he can pass and put on the statute book laws that would, as you said, divert and transcend away from the ECHR and its ridiculous rulings.
Farage's big win in life was when he was campaigning against something massive in the European Union and saying what we need to do is just leave it. And it was a very powerful motivator. If he can sort of spin the same argument with the ECHR, even if he knows what I'm saying is true, if he can sort of set this as it's an us versus them situation, we're going to have to take some drastic measures, that's a far better thing to sell to people, saying we're going to wholesale rip this up and start again, than say we're going to go through lots of different legislation line by line. It's a much bigger headline thing, and it makes people think he's listening, he's taking it seriously, rather than when you get a lot of other politicians going, oh, well, it sounds awfully difficult and it's going to take a very long time. People don't respond positively to that.
Do you think that, we saw an opinion poll today showing that Labour's popularity to an all-time 6-year low, Reform dominating their 90th poll on the bounce. You've watched, listened and been part of politics for a long time. Do you believe that Nigel Farage is the real deal? Do you think he has a chance or a good chance of being the next Prime Minister? Or are we 4 years out being swept along by something that ultimately, the bubble might burst? Oh, good.
I mean, the bubble might burst. In the past 4 years, actually quite a bit. Oh, I am here.
Oh, good. Sorry, you froze. I think I think a fox ran over your line or something. There you go. Oh, it's done it again. Can you try and get him back? Where's Jody? Come on, you lot. You're not even there. It's not their fault. 0344 499 1000 is the telephone number. Can you try and get him back for me? We'll try and get him back. Of course, keep your calls coming. Also, those text messages, 87222. Alex Phillips is, by the way, in again tonight. Brilliant last night. In for Kev O'Sullivan every day this week from 7 until 10. And Petri Hoskins back excellently from 10 o'clock. If you're just tuning in to talk, this is the joys of live radio and live television. You're speaking to a caller, as I was, Benedict Spence, in great detail about what's going on, and he's as frozen as an ice cube in the fridge. Jodie's out making tea, and Ryan is now panicking like a good one. We'll go to the phone lines where we sort the mess up. Cambridgeshire, see Stephen on Talk Drive. Stephen, good evening. How are you?
Hello, Jeremy. You all right, mate?
Not too bad for a balding 60-year-old has-been, and the machinery's all frozen, so we're glad we got you. What can I do for you, pal?
Well, all these people in saying Nigel is not saying this, not how politically naive are they? Farage ain't going to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, because we're 4 years out from an election. It gives the opposition 4 years to stymie whatever he's going to put forward.
I mean, look, there will always be critics of every single politician, every single party and every single policy. That's, I guess, in essence, a democracy. I just feel, as I think many viewers do, Steve, that here's somebody that showed like they were listening. He probably hasn't got all the answers. I don't think anybody will have the answers. And I'm sure, and I've asked numerous politicians, you know, there are people who will go, oh, he can say all this, but he's going to come up against real obstacles and it's not going to be possible. But you'd listen to Kemi Badenoch saying, I've got a KC looking into it. I'll come back to you in another 12 months. You look at Starmer, who's too busy, I don't know, going round in circles. And it sort of made me think, yeah, there's a politician I could buy into. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I am actually a member of Reform. And with Kemi and what she's saying, they had 14 years to deal with it. They had a majority.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many Liberal Democrats in there. They haven't got rid of any of them.
I thought it was really interesting earlier. Nigel Evans, ex-Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, a 30-year Tory MP, who's always on the show. He said to me, she's got to the party conference to put meat on the bone or many people will be done. And I said to him, are you, for example, you know, a 35, 40-year Tory, are you thinking that Nigel Farage is barking up the right tree? And he went, yeah, I'm going round in circles at the moment, mate. He's very honest. Jonathan Gullis said it yesterday. I think a lot of people, you know, who want to bash Farage and quite, you know, they'll say he's this, he's that, have to acknowledge that he's managed to grab hold of the attention of the nation by seemingly being about the only politician who looks and feels like he's listening to us, isn't it?
End of the day, he's saying what everybody... I know people will say, yeah, he's not going to do this, he's not going to do that. The biggest thing I liked was when, and Tice said earlier, the civil service. Because I watched a parliamentary scrutiny committee, and they had, I think it was the head of the border in there, and he couldn't even answer. He couldn't even answer a simple question. He had the opportunity to meet with his counterpart.
Yeah.
Together, they could have got rid of a lot of the migrants, but he hadn't bothered in 2 years to meet with his opposite number, if you like.
I think that's. I think you know, the one thing that I always thought as well is it sounds boring, but there has to be a will, and I've not been utterly convinced that there has been a will. I don't think there was a will with Rishi Sunak. Boris Johnson was a letdown. I don't think Starmer. I think Starmer's too hamstrung by what he thinks he should do and what he shouldn't do. I don't think he's got any bleeding plan at all. For me, reactive politics is not what we need. We need proactive politics, and I might disagree with some of it. I'd also prefer somebody who isn't, you know, seemingly making themselves out to be perfect when nobody is. So, yeah, really interesting times. Steve in Cambridgeshire, thank you so much indeed. 6:15, 0344 499 1000. Oh, hold on. Go on, Jezza, you know you want to. Wear a turtleneck top tomorrow. You could make out as the next James Bond. I'm sorry, off topic, but I'm fed up with all this rubbish about immigration. It's doing my bleeding head in. There you go. Benedict, you see, you've managed to generate a response from somebody who thinks I should wear a turtleneck. What about you as Bond? Brooke Bond? Basildon Bond?
I think maybe the Bond of maybe 80 years ago. I think I'm far too laid back for that sort of thing. You'd never catch me running and firing something at the same time. I might get a man to do it for me, I suppose.
Yeah, you see, he doesn't even go grouse shooting, Benedict. He gets somebody else. He goes pull and the bloke pulls the gun. Let's go back to Farage, because I thought Steve in Cambridge summed it up brilliantly. Of course to be criticised. Of course it's 4 years out. Of course, you know, all of those things. But you would, I think, accept and agree that there is an unprecedented feeling in this country. I mean, we've done this long enough. You can mention the word immigration. If anybody had talked about deportations, you know, and I made the point to Stephen, I wanted your take on this about, you know, I'm sick to death of politicians appearing to be perfect and then being found to be into rent boys or cocaine or gambling or anything else that they seem to all be into. I liked it when he stood on the stage yesterday and said that there'd been disagreements. He was pertaining, of course, to the Rupert Lowe disagreement. I think that's important. I just feel like British public wants somebody that's going to, warts and all, black and white, raw journey, here we go, I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to get it wrong, we'll go on this together and fingers crossed we get it right. I just think it's time, really.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. As you say, it's 4 years out, so there's plenty of time for the wheels to come off. But let's also be clear, reform is a bit of a circus at the moment, so there's plenty of time for it to stop being a circus and to stop having these fallings out and to actually come to unified policy.
Explain this to me, though, and I'm not sticking up for reform. When you say that, what do you mean? Because every single political party seems to be a bleeding circus right now. We've got the leader of the official opposition saying that she's asked KC to look into this in May. It's September and still she's not speaking, man.
I think the thing is, though, when it comes down to a party of 4 to 5 people, when you keep losing 20% of your MPs every couple of months because of an internal argument or something that somebody didn't reveal to somebody else, that's not good. You should actually not have any of those kind of problems in a party that small. You should have discipline down. The fact that discipline has been a problem shouldn't be happening. But as I say, 4 years out, there's actually plenty of time to sort of iron out those kinks. And I think actually also what you were talking about there with Stephen, people are fed up of the reactivity, and actually that's how we've got to this position where you've got a Labour government following a Tory one going, oh, we didn't see this coming, how are we possibly going to fix it? What you need is a proactive, as you said, proactive politician who says, I'm going to get out in front of this, who isn't going to sit here and go, oh, well, I can't possibly do this because it has echoes of the far right or whatever it is, who says, look, I'm actually a fairly moderate, middle-of-the-road kind of person. People have had enough of these things. So rather than cede ground on things like immigration to an extremist political party that could come out of anywhere, I, Nigel Farage, relatively straightforward, am going to be proactive. I'm going to get on top of this. I'm going to get out in front of it. I'm going to give people a route to fixing it so that we don't, in fact, end up in a position where it ends up in the hands of extremists. And that goes the other way as well, because you could very easily, with the splitting of this, the Labour Party and the emergence of the new Jeremy Corbyn People's Front, you could very easily have that happening on the left.
Oh, do you mean Jezbollah?
Yeah, I mean, what was it that we've decided? I don't think they like Jezbollah very much.
They didn't. Sultana the fruitcake, she didn't like that, but her name is Zara Sultana, so I don't see. But we've got the Socialist Union Metropolitan Party of Hampstead. That's quite an interesting one. The Leftovers, the Bubble and Squeak Party, because that's what you make with the leftovers. The Fruit and Nut Job. Loads of them. What about the Cortanas?
I think they should be called the People's Front of Jezza, so that when there's an inevitable split, the other side can be called the Jezza's People's Front, and then they can just argue.
I've just got the winner, Gavin in Birmingham. Sultana and Jezza's party should be called the Left Waffer. Like
somebody
the Luftwaffe
is going to complain about that.
Well, I don't know. Listen, somebody will complain. Who cares? I think that of course he'll have scrutiny. Of course, and quite rightly he should. But when you look at how hamstrung the other parties appear to be, it was slightly refreshing. I'm sure it's not perfect. I'm sure there are all number of problems, and these will become readily apparent. But I felt like, you know, I was slightly shocked the flag wasn't taken down by the police whilst he was speaking. It was the biggest flag I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, over and above it, mate, to be fair, you know, I thought, you know, let's see. Can I just, before you go, can we speak about Richard III? I'm an economist. In 1976, actually, when I was 11, Dennis Healy, he with the Caterpillar eyebrows, had to go cap in hand to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and explain that this country is broke. Yeah. As every day passes, Rachel Reeves seems to be heading in the same direction. She's employed Torsten Bell. Have you seen Torsten Bell? It was about 11. Apparently his twin brother. They're we think they're Scandinavians, but apparently Scandinavians go in saunas and whip each other with twigs, according to Jodie, so I don't know. But anyway, this is the man who believes that anybody in Middle England should be clobbered to create 50 billion quid. Would it be fair to say that Rachel Reeves is doing what all Labour chancellors do in the end? They've only got one policy, and that's taxing anybody who's ever made anything of their lives.
Well, I mean, Torsten Bell does have Scandinavian ancestry, and I think it's rather fitting because the first encounter this country had with Scandinavians was when they turned up and started demanding all of our money. So this is very true to form, actually. I think this is rather fitting. He's never seen something that he didn't think he could tax, frankly, and I think it's really rather concerning that he is already elevated so high up in the process of writing the budget. You mentioned the IMF there. That's the sort of the real sort of Damocles that's hanging over all of us, because I don't think that even an IMF bailout would actually touch the sides of the problems that this country faces. And the resulting measures that would be brought in, the cuts to spending, but also the tax rises that would have to come, I think that would be too much pain to bear. If we get to that situation, let's stop talking about in 4 years when reform gets in. I don't see how the government could survive very long under those circumstances. It would be a catastrophe. But I am apprehensive about the upcoming budget. I don't know what it is that they plan on doing. We've heard the drip feed of policies that are being thought of. This is really very concerning. Changes to pension taxation, changes to capital gains tax, changes to inheritance tax, all that nonsense that people say about, oh, inheritance tax, it only affects 1% to 2% of estates. It won't. It won't. It will affect so many millions
Conversations
of people.
about a property tax, even when you're owning it, increasing keeping stamp duty, a property tax on properties over 500,000. I know cheap headlines are
the country.
I know cheap headlines are not what we want, but you'd have to look at the job she's done so far and say that she's way, way out of her depth, and that the fine. I mean, when we assume and the knowledge that well, we know that we can't even afford the interest on the debts we've got. I mean, and most people listening to this will go, what do you mean we're skint? We're skint. As a country, we're skint. We've got two options. We go to the IMF, we increase taxes, or we print money and inflation goes through the roof. I remember 1979, and it will take a massive rebuilding job. But I don't know, mate. I also agree with you. They got rid of Liz Truss very, very quickly. I can't believe that this will be allowed to carry on if financially we are as screwed as we are led to believe we could be.
Yeah, I can't foresee a situation where actually the government would have any kind of credibility.
No.
Honestly, I don't know if the Labour Party would try to get rid of a sitting Prime Minister quite so soon, but they might not have a choice. Whether or not that would prompt a general election, I don't know, or just an internal leadership crisis. Very deliberately, Labour makes it hard for them to get rid of their own leaders so that they don't end up in that sort of situation. But actually, how can you face the country having come in and said, we are the grown-ups, we're going to fix it, and then said there's a 20 billion black hole that we didn't know about, and then said there's a 50 billion pound black hole that we didn't know about, and then say, well, we might have to go to the International Monetary Fund, all the while refusing to cut spending, whilst there are stories every day about migrants, about foreign nationals, about personal independence payments, about motability, about the huge amount of waste. I don't see how on earth a government can have the credibility to say, we will keep spending money on all of these things whilst we continue to reach into your pockets, into your parents' pockets, into your deceased grandparents' pockets whilst they're in the grave, and take everything we can get our hands on.
Couldn't agree more, Benedict. Always an absolute pleasure to have you on, detailing how a turtleneck can look incredibly impressive of a Wednesday evening. 0344 499 1000. You want to get your call on between now and 7 o'clock. That's the number. You can WhatsApp, you can text 87222. Start your message with the word talk.
what Nigel Farage has done this whole summer, but particularly in yesterday's press conference, is tap into some real public anger and a genuine kind of thirst for change from the British public. So they want these votes to stop. They think illegal immigration is far too high. And really, they're happy to see radical solutions put forward in order to solve that. Now, the question over Nigel Farage's and reforms policy will be really with the detail.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 29 minutes past 6 o'clock. We're live across the UK. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you very much indeed for all your suggestions for Jeremy Corbyn's new party. I'm here with Matthew Talbot, the only lefty allowed on this show station, a former Labour advisor, in a casual jumper. He had to go to the IMF for this. He's lost the suit. It's been spent. How are you, son?
Good. I thought it gave off very 1976 vibes and the bailout and whatever. That's what I thought. I thought you'd like that.
Corbyn's new party. Zara Sultana's not taken too well to this. Lots of suggestions. Left of Labour, the leftovers, the left behind party, Fruit and Nut. Jez Ballar is my absolute favourite.
Yes, I'm sure.
And she was offended by Sultana and the fruitcakes, but her name is Sultana. Corbyn's new party. What about Steptoe and Gone or the Rag and Bone Party, says Chris in Newby. That's a good one. Some of them I literally cannot possibly tell you what so many in there. Bubble and Squeak is my favourite so far. It's got what you get make up of the leftovers. To be fair to him, Jeremy Corbyn, a man who stood by his principles and got a bigger share of the vote than Keir Starmer. Let's talk about where this country is. I took on a caller earlier who said, mass deportations. I think there's a problem with the word mass. I agree wholeheartedly with what Nigel Farage intimated yesterday, but I also think it's important to point out that there are and have been thousands of people that have come to this country over the years and have enriched this country, embraced this country, employed people, done jobs, paid tax. I talk always about the man that picks me up, who came from Bangladesh 40 years ago. I talk about our Polish makeup artists who came here and built a business and do everything for those people. They are as appalled by people coming here illegally and taking advantage as you and I are. Nigel Farage yesterday, love him or loathe him, grabbed the political limelight, grabbed the baton, and has left the other two parties looking pretty neutered, hasn't he?
I think he can, because he hasn't got any responsibility at the moment. I used to think the same about the Greens on the sort of left of the Labour argument. They can promise the earth because they're not going to get in. Nigel obviously might do. That's not to say he won't. I think the thing that I find frustrating is I like to think people within the Labour government realise this is a hot-button issue and a serious one, and it's very important to people. But then I get messages from people within Labour circles saying, well, they were appalled by what Nigel had said and that blah, blah, blah. But also that, you know, I think we're doing all right on the immigration stuff. And I thought, are they high? Are they like, what? I said, by what metric? Because even as someone as liberal and as open as myself, you have to be a pragmatist. Since January of this year, we've had over 50,000 people come via small boat, right, which is an issue in itself in many ways. We hear yesterday that the government has 100 people that it is holding ready to deport back to France in weeks. Well, you're going to have 5 times that amount by the end of the week. So therefore, by what metric are we doing well on this stuff?
And how did these 100 suddenly arrive, and why have they been held, and why haven't they been deported before?
So this idea is part of the one in, one out.
You mean 17 in and one? Oh, 2,517 in and none out. This is what I mean. You were a political advisor, and I wanted to ask you this. What would enthuse me yesterday about Farage is this. it was proactive, not reactive. Everything about this government, almost everything about this opposition to me is reactive. Sure, he probably won't be able to do it all. Probably it'll cost more. Probably they'll find stuff. But there was a politician, male or female, not bothered about the political party, in my mind, reading the room, addressing what the British public want and going, I'm listening to you. I don't get that from our Prime Minister. I don't get that. What did you see what Badenoch said? I asked a KC in May to look into this. It's bloody September, woman. People want meat on the bone.
They do. However, in the rare occasion I actually find myself sticking up for Kemi Badenoch in that instance, it isn't that simple, as much as people would like it to be.
No, it's not. But I'm not a political advisor like you are. No, it's not simple. But surely the first rule is to turn the dial towards you so that people listen. They're not listening to Kemi Badenoch. They're not listening to Keir Starmer. They are listening to Farage. Nick Simmons, Thomas Summons, this morning said, you know, this is not a plan, this is disgraceful, this is just noise from a very small party that could fit in a taxi. I like Nick, but with respect, man, those four make more noise than anybody else, and they're getting the nation talking. I'm not sticking up for reform. There might be flaws in the system, but what I guess I'm saying is that you have to listen to what people want. You need to, I want to say PISS, I'm not going to. You have to stop taking the people for granted, I think, and assuming that we don't know what we're talking about and we're stupid.
You do, but I suppose, in a way, it's a question of what do you want from a politician? Do you want somebody
Honesty?
who is potentially... Yeah, no. Do you potentially want somebody that is offering... simple answers to complicated questions, or somebody that's going to do the groundwork? I think part of the problem, whether it be immigration, the health service, our public services, all the mess that we've got, the economy, welfare ballooning, we're living in a climate where, one, people hate politicians, so straight away you're getting, you know, no credit whatsoever for anything, but also we live in a climate of instant gratification, and I don't think people are prepared to wait. And my fear, even in opposition, and I would say this to MPs, even with all the goodwill in the world, even if we made all the right decisions, I think you will run out of time.
But I accept that, but one of my criticisms of Labour, a massive criticism actually, one that I won't back down on, is you talk about groundwork, and I'm sticking up for reform. I'm thinking here along the lines of Trump. I mean, I heard Zia Yousef earlier say Nigel's won her first 100 days. What does that sound like, right? But here's the thing. Anybody knew you lot were getting in for 2 years.
I agree.
Anybody. You had Sue Gray, who had apparently been absolutely, you know, charged with you get it sorted. She went within 100 days. I don't believe that actually the groundwork, the planning and the foundations were in any way obvious from the Labour Party and have been in the last 12 months. I'm not saying that reform will have those now. Maybe they're going to build them, but I'm with you. And Kemi... Yes, I know what you mean, but it's been a year. And Matt, in the end, people are going to go, well, just, you know, come on. And what has Nigel Farage done with his reform conference? It's a month before the other one, so he's going to steal a march again. It's proactive.
Yeah, well, there's different strategies with this. Nigel has done what he does and he's gone out early.
Yeah.
Whether he'll have to row back certain bits will remain to be seen. I would not be too surprised to see a reshuffle the weekend of Reform's conference. Labour will do the tactic of trying to move anything they talk about off the news because ministers will get shuffled and potentially secretaries of state. I suppose Kemi has chosen a direction that I think is sensible, but Nigel's beat her to the punch, because what I think ultimately is she's asked the KC to look at the real legal framework of the complicated nature of coming out of the ECHR when it is absolutely embedded within the Good Friday Agreement and all this minutiae, so that she can go, I have the real plan of doing the hard work and what we'll have to do, and it might take a couple of years if we get back in. I think Nigel has been clever enough to go, she's going to announce at their conference is last out of all the parties, therefore they'll have the last say almost before Parliament returns, and he's gone, I better beat her to it. So he's read that quite well. Again, it's whether the proof will be in the pudding potentially if he gets in. I see several issues, you know, Ascension Island, it's just not going to happen. The idea, the numbers, and I know it's boring to talk about numbers, but we have to be real about this stuff. If you're going to deport the type of numbers he wants to do 365 days a year, which is what Zia Yousef said, that will be impossible because each person needs an escort, because ultimately these people may start kicking off and whatever else. You can't just put them on a plane and assume they'll behave themselves.
Con Air didn't work, did it?
Well, no. So I think the numbers are ambitious. and therefore unrealistic. Now, if he wants to take it out...
But I go back to you. I get that, but the British people want to hear, I think, even if it's 100 or 1,000 or 200,000, that people are being moved. So you can say that number, which is what I meant. I mean, there will be situations, I'm sure, whereby it doesn't materialise, it doesn't happen. It's just he's talking about it. That's the difference.
I know, but I admire Nigel as a communicator.
I'm not sticking up for him.
No, but I could sit here and say I'll pay everyone £20 an hour and we won't raise taxes, and we can all say stuff, and admittedly it's stuff people want to hear. They want to hear action. And I just think this isn't even me sticking up for the government. I think they've looked totally impotent with all this stuff. Why? And I must say to you every week, the idea of offshore processing, and obviously Reform have been listening when I say we need to look at the 45 Convention, and Nigel goes, yeah, maybe we will just sort of scrap it and get on with it. It won't be easy, but you've got to look at solutions, and I agree with you. One of my biggest bugbears, even in opposition from the very off, during COVID and the rest of it, was this is totally reactive. There was no proactive thinking. And again, I go back to what lots of us know, really, is that there was a plan to win the election, there was no plan to govern.
But isn't that appalling?
Yes.
Did you know that at the time?
Yeah, but why do you think I left? I had half a hope of going helping the homelessness minister, who didn't get the brief anyway, and he was going to try and argue for me to come through the back door because ministers don't tend to get spads, and we had a close relationship. That didn't materialise. That's the only thing, because I thought I can keep busy with that, regardless of the noise. But you have to remember, these are a group of people that, you know, the Chief of Staff worked in local government for 20 years. He's not like a big brain box that knows what he's doing. These people were tasked with factional warfare and killing the left of the Labour Party. Winning an election wasn't really... We didn't expect to do it in 5 years. This wasn't a master plan. Liz Truss handed it us. That's what happened. Partygate, Rishi running out of time, I would say. I felt a little bit sorry for him, and then mucking up in the election, not going to the remembrance celebrations and whatever. So this was never really the plan. I think really the plan, as we always heard, is there was a shadow leadership operation for the shadow health secretary at the time. The idea was Keir might stop the bleeding and we'd have to have another go, and it's landed too early. There was no forward planning. And what Dominic Cummings would say is the perfect example is the winter fuel. If you do not go into government with political priorities, the civil service will impose their political priorities on you. Well, for the last however many chancellors, they've gone, do winter fuel, do winter fuel. And most people have had the foresight to go, yeah, right, that's going to kill us politically. We've grasped at it and gone, oh, fine, yeah, we'll do that. Look at it, mess.
Really interesting. Love having you on, even in a jumper. But they are mess. Matthew Talbot, former Labour advisor. Respect to your dad. Thank you. 20 minutes to 7 o'clock. Still to come. We'll look at tomorrow's Sun newspaper. More of your calls on 0344 499 1000. This is Talk Drive.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 17 minutes to 7 o'clock. We're live across the UK. This has become the most popular part of the show, to be perfectly honest. John, well, I don't know how to describe him, Sarge, is not here. We're delighted to welcome the Deputy Head of News at The Sun, Will Barker.
Hello, hello.
Where is the boy? Where is the pin-up? What's he doing now?
Day off today, probably on a date. You know what he's like.
Well, I don't want to say anything because, you know, he might sue me, but... Yeah, oh, all the girls through the glass are looking. He's on a date. They're all pretending. You see what is it about him?
I don't know, he just got something, although we were taking the mick out. We saw it last night, and he referred to a Chilean person.
A Chilean?
And,
he said, he said he was talking, no, it was a delicacy. Yeah. A Chilean delicacy. It was shellfish or something. He went, Chilean. We're all like, what's happened to him? He's changed. Will, thank you so much indeed for coming in. A section that we do all the time, Stories in the Sun for tomorrow. A serious story to start about a migrant accused of trying to kiss a schoolgirl. It's still going on, so this has to be factual.
Yes. I mean, the case has taken on a lot more significance with what's happening. We've got the appeals and the bail hotel tomorrow with the government already. But in the background to all this, there's this court case going on involving a Bell Hotel resident. We thought it might go wrapped up today, but they've shoved it back to next month. But it sort of, as I say, it sort of feels suddenly, with the summer that we've had, a very kind of important case on what happens with it. So you've got this migrant who's accused of approaching a young schoolgirl and touching her inappropriately. He, I must say, denies it. He claims that he was just having a chat with her, but there was a witness who spoke today and explained how she saw it, that he'd sort of lurched on her and was talking inappropriate to her. She was in a school uniform. But what's also quite interesting is that he sort of revealed his trip over here, and it sort of gives an idea of these guys in the Bell Hotel, what they've been going through and where they're coming from. He came from Ethiopia, he moved through Sudan, and then paid about 1,500 quid to get on a dinghy and came over here, and is now residing in the Bell Hotel until he was nicked by the police when he did this, and footage of the arrest has also emerged today and showed him initially giggling and then bursting into tears when he realised what was going on.
This is a story that we will follow closely, The Sun will follow closely. It's still ongoing, but you're right, it's a story that has really sort of become the focal point of so much. We'll certainly do that. This is extraordinary on the back of that story. A prison officer has become the third female guard in just a year to be convicted of having inappropriate relationships with serving lags at the same prison. This time Amy Duke. HMP 5 Wells, where's that?
So, Northamptonshire.
Right.
So, it got built in 2022 for a lot of money. It's known as a super prison, and it's had a terrible time. I mean, it's had loads of grief in reports. It's been deemed HMP woke. It's one of these jails that are almost like a sort of holiday camp. There's sort of gyms and etc. etc. And then I don't know what they're serving in the porridge out there, because the prison officers keep seeming to have a relationship with
Alison. Will is very handsome and has a lovely smile, just as gorgeous as Sarge.
Brilliant.
He's loving that, Will Barker. Alison,
Can we
you've
just
made...
keep that bit out?
No. Will is very handsome and has a lovely smile, just as gorgeous as Sarge. You see what happens if you take a day off and it goes to your head?
There you go.
Barker's loving it. Sorry, crack on. HMP woke.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's very, very woke. So clearly that they've lost, the management has lost control over there. And so, yeah, the third one in a year has been done for inappropriate relationships.
I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, who remembers that prison was supposed to be where you went?
Yeah.
To be punished?
Yeah.
Phones, drugs, relationships with prison officers. It doesn't seem to be the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
What? Britain's tool theft epidemic, Warhammers, is being exploited by Russia in its war on Ukraine. What an extraordinary story.
Yeah, well, this is a great story from Mike Sullivan, our great crime editor. He been speaking to his friends in the NCA and the like, and they've discovered that. So it turns out there's a terrible problem with tools leaving building sites up and down the land. It's been estimated it costs about £800 million a year. And they've looked into the cases of some very expensive kit called surveying tools, which kind of 3D map out buildings and all this kind of stuff. Very clever. Now, Russia don't get this gear because of the sanctions on them, but it turns out they've tracked these tools that have gone missing from UK building sites and found them of going all the way over to...
How? To Russia?
To Russia, through organised crime.
Wow.
And it's just the way that these things are going. I'll tell you a little story. I've had an incident. I was recently away in Monaco.
Of course you... See?
Yeah.
Monaco, yeah.
I wasn't staying there.
Yeah, he was. He was at the Formula One as a guest of Rainier, the Crown Prince film.
I had my phone pickpocketed.
Did you?
And it ended up, on that Find Your Phone app,
yeah,
tracked it, ended up in Odessa.
Joking.
Yeah.
Seriously? Yeah. Did you have lots of contacts as an undercover journalist? So
I mean, I've been in the game a long time, so there's a lot of dead people in that contact.
Are there?
But
wow. You don't. But Alison says you don't look like you've been in that long, so that's great.
There we go. I'm winning.
Marcus Rashford, who's moved to Barcelona, has gone to IKEA. How much is he earning? What's the matter with him?
Exactly. So I met a load of trainee students the other day, and they said to me, well, how do you make a story? What is a story? And I said, well, it's something that kind of shocks you, something out of the norm, something that just doesn't seem right. And it struck me with this story. This is entirely it. So we've done, over the last few years, you must be aware, you must have read them, Rashford buying cars, Rashford buying watches, spending money, spraying money everywhere.
Everywhere.
And then all of a sudden, he rocks up in Barcelona's local IKEA, trying to buy a bargain. There's pictures of him with one of those blue bags on his shoulder, trying to find a bargain.
I mean, because he's Mr. Bling. When he was in Manchester, the Rolls Royces with the diamond wheels and the watches and all that, he's in IKEA.
Yeah.
He's been living in a hotel since his summer move to the Catalan Giants, but now apparently he's got a super mansion and he's going to fill it with pine.
Yeah.
Are you an IKEA fan?
Well, yeah, but
I don't understand it.
Do you think he'll be building them?
Sorry, Ryan, what did you say about meatballs? It's got nothing to do with IKEA. What does that mean? Do you think Ryan, our producer, looks like Ryland from this morning?
There is a little bit of that, yes.
I think we should out him in the paper. Brilliant. So, on a serious note, following that story about the migrant accused of trying to kiss a schoolgirl, which kicked off the Bell Hotel disaster in Epping, the Sun will be following. That's 2 days in that court case. There's video footage. He's come from Ethiopia. He also said, I am a Christian. There's so much to this story. We will follow that throughout tomorrow and talk. HMP Woke in Northampton, the third prison officer, the third female guard in a year to be convicted of having inappropriate relationships with serving lags. Warhammers. This is honestly, read this tomorrow. Epidemic of tools, workers' tools that Russians can't get because of sanctions are somehow ending up in Russia, £800 million, and Marcus is flat back 4. See, I like what you've done. You see what the headline is, Ryland?
That was mine. I did that one.
Rash's flat pack... I can't even say it. You said
flat pack 4.
Flat pack 4. Brilliant. The Sun tomorrow, the legend that... Who's... I'm working tomorrow. Who's doing the show tomorrow?
Alex West.
Oh, my God. It's just moved around. Anyway.
He's got hair.
He's got no chance, because apparently Alison likes bald men. Will Barker, thank you very much indeed. This is Talk Drive.
what Nigel Farage has done this whole summer, but particularly in yesterday's press conference, is tap into some real public anger and a genuine kind of thirst for change from the British public. So they want these votes to stop. They think illegal immigration is far too high. And really, they're happy to see radical solutions put forward in order to solve that. Now, the question over Nigel Farage's and reforms policy will be really with the detail.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 5 minutes to 7. We're live across the UK. Alex Phillips is here from 7 o'clock. Couple of quick calls. Clive in Farnborough. You've only got a minute. Clive, what do you say?
Jeremy Corbyn party, PPE party.
PPE? What do you mean by that?
Pick-a-pocket extraction party.
The pick-a-pocket extraction. That's brilliant. I love that. That's very, very clever. I completely agree. Fantastic. Good man. My regards to Farnborough. Let's go to London. David, you're on Talk Drive. How are you, friend?
I'm very well, thank you, apart from West Ham, of course.
Are you a West Ham fan?
I'm afraid I was looking for a high building, but there's not many round at the moment.
Can I ask you about West Ham with respect, a fellow West Ham fan, and there aren't many of us, how bad is it, genuinely? Because I've had texts today from people saying Potter's got to go. I've had texts from people saying Brendan Rodgers is lined up. I've had texts saying this is ridiculous. People are panicking too soon. What do you say to this?
I would agree with that last one. We're panicking too soon. Look, the first half against Chelsea, we played very well. I thought we played very well. Unfortunately, if we'd gone 2-1 up, it might have been a different story. It is difficult at the moment. It is difficult, but look, I looked the other day. There's 12 sides got 1 point or naught. So it's not catastrophic yet, is it?
But do you think Potter's a good manager? Do you think tactically he's up to it?
Well, he came with a very good track record, didn't he? He done very well with Brighton, but then Chelsea didn't give him a chance. So, yeah, I was pleased he came. And my son, who's a much stronger supporter than even me, my son said, well, at least we didn't sit back. We still went forward against Chelsea. I mean, I don't know. It's difficult. They were so boring. For a West Ham supporter, it was so boring with Moyes. It was just so boring.
Yeah, but I repeat, and you won't like this, 6th, 6th, 7th and European champions. Right, listen, you got 1 minute, David in London. What do you want to say on migration, my friend?
Very quickly, look, the elephant in the room is always, I've been doing a bit of door knocking as a Reform member. The elephant in the room is still, I'm talking to dyed-in-the-wall Tories, dyed-in-the-wall Labour. I spoke to a good friend of mine the other day. I said, well, who are you going to vote for? Still Labour. But what you've got to remember is, Jeremy, twice in the last few years, UKIP and Reform have got over 4 million votes and got a handful each time. I'm still a handful of MPs each time. I'm still really worried, and I'm going to test you once more. Who's the other country who's got first past the post, Jeremy?
Sorry, mate, what did you say? I didn't hear that. What did you say?
Who's the other country in Europe who's got first past the post? The only other country. I asked you a couple of weeks ago. Oh. You didn't. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. I'm a busy man with 6 kids. Go on, you tell me. Who's the other country?
Belarus.
Belarus?
So it's just us and Belarus. All the rest have got PR.
But that's a dictatorship.
Well, what I'm worried about is you've got Rupert Lowe and you've got Mr Habib. I liked Habib a lot. They're splitting the vote.
I would say this, and I voted Reform in the last election. I will make my mind up when the election happens. My job as a broadcaster is to look at. We just had Matthew Talbot, former Labour advisor, on. I would say this: politics is not entirely in it's not in the gutter, but I think a lot of people are fed up with politics. What I think has changed, be it you've talked about Rupert Lowe, you've talked about Nigel Farage, Matthew Talbot talked about the Greens, we've talked about the Liberal Democrats, the Labour Party in power, the Tories under Badenoch. All I've said for the best part of 3 years is that the British people, and I think this issue, immigration, has rather cemented what's going on. I think the British people are now saying, look, we've always been good, we've always done right, we've always tried to live our lives correctly. We feel like second-class citizens. We feel like you're not being honest, you're not being open, you're not giving us perhaps what we need. I am not saying for any moment that